Welcome to the Assembly on Government Affairs. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Assemblyman Carter,
Present.
Assemblyman DeLong,
Present.
Assemblyman De Silva,
Here.
Assemblywoman Duran, Assemblywoman Gonzalez, Assemblyman Gurr, Assemblyman Hibbets, Assemblyman Koenig, Assemblyman MacArthur, Assemblyman Wynn,
Here.
Assemblywoman Taylor, Assemblywoman Thomas, Chair Torres.
Welcome to the audience here in Carson City and those joining us by a very packed room and video conference in Las Vegas and those listening over the internet. Just some housekeeping items for those of us in the committee. As a reminder, please silence your electronic devices. If you wish to testify, please sign in at the table by the door and provide a business card to the committee secretary. For those joining online, please be sure to mute your microphone when you're not speaking to minimize any background noise. When testify, please turn on your microphone and clearly state your name and affiliation, if any, for the record. Then turn the microphone off each time you are done speaking. Hopefully, if you had any handouts or extras, you brought at least 20 hard copies for members of the public. Electronic copies should have been submitted to the committee manager by noon yesterday for members of the committee. We expect courtesy and respect in our interactions during the meeting, even if we may not agree with another person's position. Committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts and other documents. Please do not view this as a sign of disrespect or inattention. Public comment will be taken at the end of the meeting. Each person will be limited to 2 minutes. In addition, the public may submit written testimony to the committee up to 24 hours after the hearing. So today we have a pretty packed agenda, but at least we do not have floored this morning. So today we'll go ahead and begin our presentations with the Nevada League of Cities Municipalities with the Executive Director, Wesley Harper. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Wesley Harper. I am the Executive Director of the Nevada League of Cities and Municipalities. It is a great honor to be in front of this committee. I have high esteem for the chair and this committee and the vice chair. Thank you very much for the privilege. Joining me at the table is the president of the Nevada League of Cities for 2023, Mayor Lori Bagwell for the city of Carson City. Just as an overview of how the Nevada League of Cities fits into the national scheme, there are 49 state leagues around the country. Each state has a state municipal league of cities. They're all called something slightly different. Every state except for the state of Hawaii. The National League of Cities is the national organization that was formed in 1924 by state leagues. It's not a situation in which there was a national organization that developed chapters. It's a situation in which the state leagues decided that they wanted a premier federal advocacy organization. So together they created the National League of Cities. The Nevada League of Cities and Municipalities was created on October 30th of 1959, at the time with the 16 incorporated cities in Nevada. Today, we have 25 member municipalities. This includes every incorporated municipality in the state, the 19, plus 2 towns and 4 general improvement districts. We are governed by a board of directors, which includes 1 member on our board of directors from each member municipality. This is the governing authority of the league. We also have an executive board that's composed of 7 members. These positions are elected by the board of directors every year. This acts as the supervising authority of the league. As I mentioned, Mayor Lori Bagwell is our current president for 2023. What guides the Nevada League of Cities since last year is the One Nevada plan. And a little context on that. The One Nevada plan is the action plan, the implementation plan that came from a strategic plan that was ratified by the Board of Directors on January 31st, 2022. It has 4 main components. One is advocacy on behalf of our member municipalities at the state and the federal level. The second is communication, making sure that we have bilateral communication with each of our members to understand what their priorities are and how to best partner with them and advance those priorities. Third, we have education. Education meaning training programs, professional development, and orientations and the like. And last is economic development. We are not an economic development organization. Our goal is to help to increase the communication between regional development authorities, the Governor's Office of Economic Development, and our member municipalities. I was selected as executive director on March 1st, 2020, so 2.5 weeks before lockdown. And my first session was our last session where essentially the building was closed up until 5 weeks before the end. So this is my first real session. Christine Johnson was hired by the league on February 1st, 2022, and now serves as our deputy director. More information about each member of our board of directors, the members of the executive board, the city clerks, the city managers can all be found on our website at nvleague.com. I'm excited to be able to share a couple of things that I've had conversations with several legislators and we talk about all the time within our member municipalities with this body. I'm sure that a few of you and maybe all of you have heard the term that, Nevada is a Dillon's rule state, and there's on the other side of the scale, there's home rule as a way of a relationship between states and political subdivisions. Just want to talk to you a little bit about that balance and where we are. Essentially, Dillon's rule is named after Iowa Supreme Court Justice John F. Dillon. And this was based upon a philosophy in a case that was settled by the United States Supreme Court in 1868. And the idea really was there was a lot of corruption existing at the local government level in the 1860s that justified that states be the body that is essentially in charge of governmental action and authority in each state. The corruption at the time was that there was a patronage-based awarding of utility franchises. So those that led local governments gave utility franchises to their friends and family. And also the deliberate creation and dissolution of municipalities and local governments in order to avoid paying debts on bonds that those local governments went to secure. This is certainly something that is not the normal practice. It's not a practice of local governments here today in 2023. On the other side of this spectrum is home rule. Home rule in its highest form is constitutionally mandated and referred to as imperium in imperio, Latin, which means a sovereign state within a sovereign state. And it looks to basically replicate the relationship between states and the federal government on the local level, where the local government would have the autonomy to govern and to tax and to provide services in the same way that states do with respect to the federal government. So we refer to Nevada as a Dillon's law, a Dillon's rule state, but we're actually someplace in the middle. Nevada certainly is not pure Dillon's rule. It is certainly not pure home rule. Local governments have been given the right in NRS to take care of matters of local concern. And what local governments do not have the right to do in Nevada is to have taxing authority. But matters that are important for making sure that the kind of resources and governance necessary in order to meet the needs of our constituents is something that is protected by NRS 268.001. We can get into the details of that if there are questions. Local concern is defined in that statute. The services that local government provides are really the services that help define what civilization is. If you consider the partnerships between the counties and the cities, everything from healthcare to road maintenance to social services to education, all of this is under the responsibility and authority of local governments. There's a lot of time and effort put into trying to figure out the best balance of resources in each one of these categories in order to ensure the best life for the residents of these political subdivisions. And this leads to the implications of unfunded mandates and state preemptions. When we are looking to define what our budgets are and our priorities are and making sure that we provide the services necessary in order to create the best and highest quality of life for our residents, it is not possible for us to also consider what unfunded mandates may or may not come from the state. And so I'm asking that we take great care before we move forward with asking cities and counties and other political subdivisions to take on responsibilities that are not currently in our budget, because what it does is it forces some difficult decisions on our part. This can lead into a conversation about how political subdivisions, specifically cities and municipalities and counties, receive money. This could lead into a discussion about our property tax law and whether or not the way property tax is defined in Nevada is really the most efficient and effective way for us to be able to serve our constituents. For state partnership, it is certainly not my assertion that all good ideas on what happens at the local level all come from our municipalities or from the counties or other political subdivisions. Certainly this body generates great ideas in that space as well. What we are asking for is partnership, discussion, so that we can help define and explain the implications of any statutes or ideas that are coming from this body. And I don't want to suggest that that's not happening, because it is. The chair has set up weekly meetings with the Nevada Associations of Counties and the Nevada League of Cities and Municipalities in order to make sure that she understands what the implications are of not only legislation that we are proposing, but legislation that are coming from other sponsors. The speaker has set up a weekly meeting that includes not only the Nevada Association of Counties and the Nevada League of Cities and Municipalities, but all local government concerns, that allows him to have greater insights into the same. What are the implications of proposed legislations? What are the implications of the legislation that we are seeking to advance? Before this legislature, the League has proposed 5 bills. One is AB 5. This deals with unfunded mandates. It has been submitted to this body. What this bill would seek to do is to create a accountability and an accounting for any unfunded mandates that are passed from the legislature. One with a look back over the last 10 years of what unfunded mandates have been, and then setting up a way to account for them going forward. Second is AB 58, the Air Service Development. This is going to be, this has been submitted to the Ways and Means Committee. This is about creating the kind of support from the state to ensure that we have commercial air service between and among the three economic generating areas of the state. Basically, Southern Nevada, Southern Nevada, Clark County, Northern Nevada, Washoe County, Reno Sparks, as well as Northeastern Nevada, Elko County. AB 60 is also before this body. This has to do with creating a more efficient notice process around neighborhood improvement districts. AB 61, vote canvassing. This has been submitted to Assembly Legislative Operations. This has to do with how we can make sure that we have efficiency with respect to canvassing the vote between the cities and the counties. And then SB 11, Expanded Drone Authority. This will be in front of Senate Growth and Infrastructure. This is about clarifying and making specific the authority that political subdivisions have to use drones for inspections of building inspections and licensing. With that, before I turn over to the committee for any questions, may we have a few moments for President Bagwell to give some remarks. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, I just want to start off with a hearty good morning, right? Let's start that. Beautiful day in Carson City. So I'm Lori Bagwell, Mayor of Carson City and President of the League of Cities. Thank you so much for the opportunity to address all of you this morning. We look forward to working with you to provide the needed government services to all of the same constituents, right? All of the cities, we're all the same people. It is my hope that we will work hand in hand as we both endeavor to do the right thing. I received tons of phone calls and grocery store discussions about things that the people of Carson City would like me to do as mayor. It is difficult to say no, but our board must prioritize what is in the best interest of the community at large. There is not enough money to do it all. Just look at my potholes and you'll understand. I know this is the same for all of you. We set our budgets annually and are completed with the task before you adjourn. It is very difficult for us to react to legislation that passes with unfunded mandates. I know that all of the Nevada governments truly want to comply with the laws that you pass. It's sometimes so very difficult because, again, we've already completed our budget cycle. So then we are forced to either to cut our budgets or to not comply. So it puts us in a really tough spot. And when we've done our budget, I feel like I've already made a commitment to the residents that I serve, and they're expecting us to do what we said in our plan. So it's very difficult when the plan shifts on us, but we're getting used to that too. We also sometimes are forced to really just increase the workload on our employees, right? We don't have any more money maybe to implement something, so we ask all of those that currently work for us to do more. Just do a little bit more. So what I'm asking here today is if you will partner with us to work together to meet all the needs of the Nevadans that we have, but that we do this hand in hand and that we try not to disrupt the budget processes of the local governments and the workloads of our employees. So I look forward to, I understand the chair is having meetings weekly. I think that's wonderful, right? That's how we can do things together, is that we really look at the impact of a piece of legislation. And maybe sometimes it's as simple as changing the implementation date. I don't know, but thank you all so very much for being here today. And if there's anything I can do, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you, Mr. Harper, and thank you, Mayor Bagwell. We obviously we enjoy coming up to your city at least once every 2 years, but often more times than that. So thank you so much for hosting us. With that, I will go ahead and open up the floor for questions. I see Assemblyman Koning. Do I have any others? And then Assemblywoman Gonzalez. Okay.
So this is more of just a statement than a question, but having been a school board trustee and a county commissioner, I have personally seen the devastating effects of unfunded mandates, and I can definitely support you in this.
Thank you.
Assemblyman Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Cecilia Gonzalez, Assembly District 16 for the record. I'm curious to learn about your program to train newly and local elected officials. If you could tell more about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Gonzalez. Again, Wesley Harper for the record. So when it comes to training, there are a couple of aspects. I would say the one that's probably on your mind most was probably talked about by the Nevada Association of Counties in their presentation just the other day. One of our commitments, the League's commitments, is to work in partnership with NACO in order to make sure that not only are we creating the best environment for learning in governance and strength in governance, but also hopefully to create personal relationships so that counties and cities and municipalities work well together. February 3rd and 4th, we had the first joint training, orientation, and symposium at UNR's campus, the Redfield campus, for 2 days. Many of the people actually that are here in the audience participated in that training. And the idea was for those that have been newly elected and those that have been serving for a period of years, could get a real indoctrination into the mechanisms and the ideas and the concepts that they will be using in governing, and how to make sure that members can govern as part of, especially the newly elected, as part of a single body, that it is no longer in the campaign it was, these are all the things that I'm going to accomplish. But what you quickly learn once you've been elected is this is what the body has decided that is in the best interest of residents. So this training is going to be an annual training in December. We also have a league retreat in June where we will have leadership development. At our annual conference in August, we will also have professional development and leadership development components. This all is a subset of a larger movement that the League and NACO are working on jointly in order to bring together 5 major universities in Nevada to form the Nevada Local Government Institute. That will include UNR, UNLV, CSN, University of Nevada, Reno, University of Nevada, Las Vegas, College of Southern Nevada, Nevada State College, and the Desert Research Institute. Coming together with, we are getting some guidance and tutelage from more established programs in the East, from the University of Georgia and the Georgia Municipal Association, as well as the University of North Carolina and the North Carolina League of Municipalities. This is all to create a larger framework in which not only are we providing more context and information around governance, but how do we have basically cutting edge thinking on policies? Where do we bring research into it? How can we involve the students at a younger level and get them excited about working in government? How can their ideas about how to solve municipal issues be put forth to city councils? Because a city council can hear the same information from a student, and it's going to sound different to them than if they hear it from either the league or one of their constituents. So that's just a little bit. I can certainly talk a lot more on it, but I appreciate the question, Assemblywoman.
Thank you, Mr. Harper. Assemblywoman Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate it. Thank you for this presentation. My question is actually just, I guess, a trivial question. You know, whenever I see something that kind of sticks out and I'm looking through the history of the organization, and it, you know, first bullet statement, 49 state municipalities that are in the league, and not Hawaii. And the first thing that pops in my mind is why?
Wesley Harper for the record. Thank you for your question, Assemblywoman. Always good to see you. So I lived in Hawaii actually for about 5 years, and I will say that they are, frankly, a different culture than the rest of the country. I mean, they are absolutely a state and absolutely included, but the way they view themselves, at least in my estimation, is very much different from how we view ourselves here on the mainland, is how they refer to what's happening here in the contiguous 48. Hawaii is organized, if the population center of Hawaii is on the island of Oahu. The island of Oahu has both the city and county of Honolulu taking up the entire square footage of that state. Hawaii has about 3 million people. 2/3 of them live on that one island. And it is just not something that they have felt that the National League of Cities and those priorities are something that is a real contribution to them. It is cultural. I mean, from my understanding and my experience there, it is not an ideological difference. It's not a philosophical difference, but they feel very much isolated from what is happening on the mainland. They certainly have strong advocates in Congress, and their senators and their member of their House of Representatives, that they are very vocal, but they seem, that part of the American experience seems very much out of touch for the people that are living on the islands.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Thomas. Are there any other questions from the committee? All right, thank you so much. I appreciate your presentation, Mayor Bagwell and Mr. Harper. Always good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And for members of the committee that are new to this committee, they'll be back very frequently. So we'll have all kinds of opportunities to grill them on questions. I know Assemblyman MacArthur has a lot. We were talking about it the other day while we were measuring him. He currently stands at 72.5 inches tall. And all right, and our next presentation for today is going to be actually one of our former colleagues, but our current mayor of Boulder City, Mayor Joe Hardy, and City Manager Taylor Tedder. Mayor Hardy, welcome back to the Legislative Building. I know it's not hard or difficult for you to come back and return home.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Joe Hardy for the record, Mayor of Boulder City for the last 2 months. I appreciate being here and being before you and your committee, and appreciate the experience that your committee has already, and obviously the experience that you're going to gain. My last 2 children were born in Boulder City. We've been there for 40 years. I've had opportunity to be a family doctor there, and appreciate the people that live in Boulder City. We talk about Boulder City in terms of one words, the dam, the railroad museum, Lake Mead, the hospital, the solar fields, the power generation. It's really the people of Boulder City, who are much like all the people in the state of Nevada. It really comes down to the people, who they are and what they do. I became a leader of a faith-based organization when I was first in Boulder City, and had my first experience in Boulder City with a family. I was called down to Lake Mead and if you've been to Lake Mead, you see campgrounds and people who are staying there. And I was apprised of a family that was there, and I went down and I found a family with several children, a mother and a father, and they were having lunch. The lunch consisted of a jar of peanut butter, eating it with a spoon out of the jar. And that was typical of our homeless population now. So I put together a group of people who cared and who shared. And we got a tire for their car from the tire shop there in Boulder City because they couldn't go anywhere without a tire. We got them fed, we got them taken care of by the people of Boulder City. And my wife, before I came up, we were talking about the homeless, and she said, well, who do we call? I mean, it's that Ghostbuster question. Who do we call? And the obvious question is you call the police. Well, they're not breaking any laws. So what do the police do? I mean, the police don't arrest them and throw them in jail. So what do we do? And that's where the people come into play. And so I asked our city manager, who's next to me, I said, so what do we do? And he said a very poignant thing. He said, we help them. And so the city of Boulder City has a way to call the non-emergency number for the police department, 293-9224, in order to get the emergency aid and the other organizations, faith-based organizations and other organizations of people who care. And one of the beauties of Boulder City is it's filled with people who care. And so that's my observation. We can talk about Parks and Rec Department, we can talk about the credit union, we can talk about all the wonderful things that are going to and are happening in Boulder City, and I'll let Taylor Tedder list and enumerate everything, but it really comes down to the people. And we in Boulder City love to partner with the other municipalities and county, in Clark County, as well as have input into the state of Nevada. So I'm thrilled with the opportunity to serve, thrilled with the opportunity to testify before you, and I would be happy to let our city manager elucidate all the other things that we do in Boulder City, if that's okay with you, Madam Chair.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chairwoman Torres and committee members. I'm Taylor Tedder, City Manager of Boulder City, and the mayor and I's goal today is to share a little bit about our community and educate you why it is a unique and integral part of Nevada. So Boulder City is historically significant to the development of our state. The Boulder Canyon Project Act authorized the construction of Hoover Dam, which was signed by President Coolidge in 1928, just as the Great Depression was beginning. Construction was set to start in 1931, and 5,000 families came to work on the project, and Boulder City was built to house the workers. The Bureau of Reclamation held title to all of the land, and the federal government essentially owned Boulder City at that time. The construction was completed in 1936 and almost 2 years ahead of schedule. And in 1958, the federal government transferred ownership of Boulder City's government, which incorporated in January of 1960. And at the time, the city covered approximately 33 square miles, which is 1/6 of the size that our city is today. So Boulder City is unique compared to the rest of Nevada. We have various charter amendments which keep the city much like it was in its early days. Since incorporation, gambling has always been prohibited, and we're one of only 2 cities in Nevada that prohibit gambling, which also means that we receive no gaming revenue. Voters adopted a ballot initiative in 1979 for growth control, so we're only allowed to build 120 homes per year, which has kept growth limited, even negative, in the past 40 years. While Boulder City acquired 167 square miles of former federal land in 1995, the voters in 1997 restricted how the city can dispose of that land. So while we have the largest square miles in Nevada, most of it does remain undeveloped as conservation lands. So the voters have to approve any time that we sell land over 1 acre. And the city also has a limit on our debt obligations, so we're essentially a pay-as-you-go community. We have to go out to the voters to ask to take out any debt over $1 million. So to my right is Mayor Joe Hardy. Last year, the voters elected longtime Boulder City resident Dr. Joe Hardy as mayor, and many of you might know him from his days as a state of Nevada assemblyman and senator. Although the role of mayor is nonpartisan in nature, I've heard that Dr. Hardy was well respected and willing to work with his colleagues on either side of the aisle, and we're truly fortunate to have someone with his expertise and character leading our city. Our other council members include Mayor Pro Tem Sherry Jorgensen, a former school teacher, Councilwoman Koki Booth, a local realtor, Councilman Matt Fox, a local restaurateur, and Councilman Steve Walton, a former City of Henderson fire deputy chief. Our appointed officials include myself, and then we have our city clerk, Tammy McKay, Brittany Lee Walker, our city attorney, who's spent considerable time here in Carson City over the past decade, and our recently elected president of the Nevada Judges of Limited Jurisdiction Association, the Honorable Victor Miller, our municipal judge. So the city has a strategic plan that was adopted in 2018. This was a 5-year plan, and we're actually ahead of schedule and incredibly close to achieving all 5 goals. You can see those on the screen, but some of the strategies in financial stewardship include diversification of revenues through grants, ensuring that our reserves are above the statutory 16.67% for our general fund and 20% for all other funds, maximization of funding for outside sources related to infrastructure and other items of that nature. So I can definitely answer questions on that later if you have any questions. So related to our general fund revenues, you'll notice that property taxes only make up 5% of our revenues. Intergovernmental revenues account for 1/3 of our revenue, and most of that comes from the C-tax, the consolidated tax, and rents and royalties, which is majoritively from our land leases for solar, make up about 1/3 of our revenue as well. So our general fund revenue is approximately $42 million, but with all funds, the city operates on about $134 million. So a little bit about our organization. We have 355 employees across 10 different departments. Many of our buildings were given to us in 1960 and still in use today. So while they're historic in value, very beautiful, but we do have a number of challenges with the facilities. Specifically accessibility, so we've been really trying to increase our ADA improvements to make sure that we have residents that of all abilities can utilize our facilities. City Hall, pictured here, was built in 1931, and our police department also was built around that time, and it used the same concrete that they used on the dam, so it makes it very difficult to make adjustments in walls and things of that nature. So it's very strong. And our staffing does include 8 collective bargaining units, and that includes the Teamsters Local 14. We have 2 Boulder City Police labor unions and the International Association of Firefighters Union. And we're home to 17 parks, 1 swimming pool, and 2 city-owned golf courses. Our police department has 37 sworn officers and more than a dozen support staff. And we have our own 911 dispatch center that handles all of our calls for police and fire response. And our police department's really worked hard to sustain critical staffing levels, and I think that's in large part to our strong recruiting and retention efforts. But it's been a national trend that it is difficult to get people to want to be police officers. So we've really tried very hard on that. We also do maintain a low crime rate, and you can see compared to the state and national trends, we are much lower. Our fire department responded to over 2,600 calls last year, and we've experienced quite an increase in calls, about 25% increase in overall calls for service and 21% increase in EMS calls. And that's 7% higher than the 5-year average. We did recently launch a new business community AED CPR program utilizing ARPA funds, so we've been able to place AEDs across our entire downtown business community so that if anyone's experiencing a medical event that requires an AED, we have them. And we also are working to build a substation. We have one fire station, so this would be essentially a second fire station to serve about 35% of our community on the lakeside of our community to get them within the nationally accepted standard for response times. And that specifically would play into our aging population. If they're having a heart attack or something of that nature, then we can get to them in time. Our schools, we have 4 different schools in Boulder City, and they're part of CCSD, the Clark County School District. And nearly a quarter of students do identify their race as something other than white. And nearly 27% of our students fall within the federal guidelines that would qualify them for free and reduced lunches, which this year is actually available district-wide for any students under the community eligibility provision. And while our city holds that small, old-fashioned charm, it is very important to note that our residents do skew older. Census data does give us a good look at our population. We have about 15,000 residents compared to Clark County's 2.2 million, and our median age is 52.7 years old compared to Clark County's median age of 37 and a half. So 29% of our residents are over 65, and half of our adults are in the workforce. 10% of our residents have been in the armed forces. And so you're probably wondering why these numbers are important. So that means about a third of our residents live on fixed incomes. So we have agencies like Emergency Aid of Boulder City, which provides rent and utility assistance, Lend a Hand, which provides rides to seniors and those with limited mobility, and the Senior Center of Boulder City. They all receive support from the city, and we've provided ARPA funds to them to support their efforts. So we are working on affordable housing, and for many years the City Council has approved the transfer of our bond volume cap to the Nevada Rural Housing Authority, so that supports affordable housing projects across the state. Last year, the City Council transferred that bond volume cap to Volunteers of America, which converted an existing assisted living facility into new affordable senior housing apartments. We also have a developer that's in the process of developing an affordable senior living facility in Boulder City, and they're proposing a total of over 180 units, and they'll be pursuing federal low-income housing tax credits. And while we do have a growth control ordinance which limits the number of residential units to be built in a year to 120, we do have a provision that provides a bonus of 50 units for affordable housing projects. So continuing the theme that Mayor Hardy mentioned, we do have some members of our community that experience homelessness, and Boulder City has a representative on the Continuum of Care Board that promotes a county-wide commitment to homeless services, including securing federal dollars for homeless service providers. We also provide annual funding along with our other local jurisdictions for the annual homeless census and the management information system software that collects information and is able to disseminate services provided for homeless individuals and emergency shelter funding. Our staff does participate in the annual census count in conjunction with Clark County Social Services, and we provide a resources guide that has all of the different resources available for people, also through Emergency Aid of Boulder City. The city has an additional duty grants manager assigned with our finance department, and they're responsible for the centralized administration and submission of all grants within the city. And he's also certified in federal grants management procedures, and we make that a really big priority so that we can maximize the benefits to our community. So another thing that makes Boulder City unique, unlike most of the cities in our state, we provide our residents with all of their utilities except for natural gas, including electricity. So the majority of that power does come from the dam, and Boulder City does retain our own water rights, which are handled by SNWA. While the city provides land leases for solar power, nearly all of it is sent to Power Las Vegas and California. The City Council in 2019 did form a utility advisory committee whose members advise the council on the operations of our electric utility. Again, we do own and operate the electrical distribution system, and unlike the investor-owned utility neighbors, we're not for profit, so we pass on the savings to the customers, and it's under the jurisdiction of our City Council rather than the Public Utilities Commission of Nevada. We do not own or operate any generation resources, and we obtain all of our energy from existing power purchase agreements and on the open energy market. The majority of our energy is considered clean energy, and that's in large part from the hydropower and from solar. And we do employ 12 people in our electric division, so whenever the power goes out, when people call, our crews respond. Just a little bit about our energy demands. So in the winter months, we have a much lower demand of about close to 30,000 megawatts for the entire city. And in the summer months, that balloons to almost 60,000 megawatts. And you can see the breakdown. We operate majoritively on the green energy during the winter months, and then we do have to buy more of the market-based power in the summer months due to air conditioning. So the city of Boulder City has really diversified its revenue sources with utility scale solar projects and lease revenues. So we have currently over 11,000 acres leased to solar developers, which generates over 2,000 megawatts of energy. And we had our first power purchase agreement with the Townsite Solar Project, which delivers 5 megawatts of firm power to the city through solar and battery storage. And we're exploring additional power purchase agreements in the future due to the dwindling capacity of Hoover Dam with the ongoing drought. So a little bit about the response to the drought. We were one of the first cities in Southern Nevada to adopt the SNWA, the Southern Nevada Water Authority's latest water conservation measures. And we're currently in talks with them to return our wastewater back to Lake Mead. That's our top priority. And we're also in the process of converting up to 2 million square feet of turf in our golf courses and parks to water smart landscaping. And the city recently authorized rebates for smart irrigation controllers with rain sensors so that our residents can get those at a lower cost. And we are committed to the new 4 acre-feet per irrigated acre water budget for golf courses, because we do have the 2 public that the city owns, and then there's another private course in Boulder City, and they're also committed to getting under that new requirement. So we can't talk about our city without talking about tourism. We have several unique offerings for visitors to Southern Nevada. The Railroad Museum, the dam, Lake Mead National Recreation Area, and trails, parks, and outdoor activities. So tourists account for over 8 million visitors annually to the Lake Mead recreation area. The Nevada State Railroad Museum will be expanding at 601 Yucca Street. This is a $35 million investment, and the first phase of the expansion project will be constructing a new visitor center at the corner of Boulder City Parkway and Buchanan Boulevard. And there's also development of a linear park, which will run the length of the museum campus. And the park will incorporate the museum's current live stream interpretive railroad and add an outdoor amphitheater and railroad-themed children's playground along with other leisure activities. And Boulder City will also be getting a new adventure center, but the mayor and I consider it more of a hub. So it's a U.S. Department of Commerce grant of $2.2 million, and this is located where our Chamber of Commerce is at 100 Nevada Way. And it'll allow tourism companies to develop operations at the centralized hub so that visitors can schedule various activities in one location. So it's kind of a one-stop shop. They come in and can find all things adventure related. And then one of the coolest perks to living in Boulder City is seeing the daily visits from the Nevada state animal, the bighorn sheep. With the help of Clark County Commissioner Jim Gibson, the county gave the city a $175,000 grant to make the improvements you can see there to Hemingway Valley Park to benefit the visitors. So two-legged and four-legged alike can enjoy it, and improvements include a walking trail, benches, educational signage, irrigation, and watering holes for the bighorn sheep. So with that, I really hope that this presentation helps you understand a little bit about the people and population of Boulder City, as well as the challenges facing our community. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have and really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
And thank you for your presentation, Mayor Hardy and Mr. Tedder. Committee members, any questions? Assemblyman Nguyen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mayor Hardy. It's great to see you again in this building. And thank you for an amazing presentation. I have to admit that I live in Southern Nevada for almost 20 years, but I don't have a lot of knowledge about Boulder City. And presentation today was like, wow, there's just so much to learn. And thank you for all of that. I know where to run to if there's an earthquake because the walls are pretty good, right? Yeah. Right, right. With that, I just want to touch on something that I just want to learn. With the uniqueness of Boulder, and there's so much that the city has to offer, and you were able to maintain a lot of the originality over the last, several decades. Do you know if you keep a demographic profile on the residents of your city in terms of ethnicity and the races that are within Boulder City?
Thank you, Assemblyman Nguyen. Taylor Tedder for the record. Yes, so the census does track that in the American Community Survey, and I could definitely get that information to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chair, may I have a follow-up? The reason why I asked that question is just I was wondering if the city services experienced a increase in a request for language assistant. Just, this is something that I'm asking every city and counties that just came up in front of GA, that if there is a increased need in language access services, and if so, how has the city's been handling them?
Sure. I don't think that we've had an increase in language assistance needs, but I can definitely take a look at that and get you information on what our makeup is. Yeah.
That was Mr. Tedder for the record. Any other questions from members?
Thank you, Chair.
All right, I do have actually one question. So I know that Boulder City obviously is very close to the city of Las Vegas and the city of Henderson. So do you have any information on what percentage Boulder City residents are working in the more urban area of Southern Nevada, or do you, what percent are able to find employment in Boulder City?
Thank you, Chairwoman Taylor Tedder, for the record. I believe that that we are more of a bedroom community, so the majority of our residents that do work do commute into Las Vegas and Henderson, probably 70% of our residents.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Any other questions from anybody? All right. It looks like we are all good. Thank you so much for your presentation. And Mayor Hardy, it was so great to have you back in this building.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Chair. Good to be here. Thank you. Joe Hardy for the record.
And that'll bring us to our next presentation. Wow, we have a lot of presentations today from the city of Las Vegas. And we are lucky to bring back another former colleague, Councilwoman Olivia Diaz, representing Ward 3, and Dr. Lisa Morris-Hibbler, the Chief of Community Service Officer. And it looks like somebody else. Just make sure you all state your name for the records.
Good morning, Chair Torres, Vice Chair Duran, members of the committee. My name is Randy Robison, Director of Government Affairs for the City of Las Vegas. Wonderful to be with you today. Thank you for this opportunity. I grew up in a city much like Boulder City, and so it's interesting to be able to be in this committee today and have the presentation right after them. Notwithstanding, I've learned through long history with Dr. Hardy in this building. It's tough act to follow, but it's interesting, I think, because they're one of our smaller communities in Southern Nevada, and now here comes the largest city in Southern Nevada. And so it'll be interesting to see not only the contrast, but more importantly, I think, what we all have in common. I'm fortunate today to be joined by two very distinguished individuals, Dr. Lisa Morris-Hibbler and Councilwoman, former Assemblywoman Olivia Diaz. I'll give them a chance to just say hello. We'll walk through a brief presentation, and then Councilwoman Diaz will sum up for us.
Good morning, Chair Torres and members of the distinguished committee. It is a pleasure to be here and look forward to talking a little more about what we're doing in the city of Las Vegas.
And good morning, Chair Torres, Chairwoman Torres, Vice Chairwoman Duran, and all of the Government Affairs Committee members. Just as I was commenting with a few of you before coming up here, it is a bit nostalgic to be back in these hallways where we're constantly trying to make strides forward for our state. So I commend all of you for your public service. I know how much work it is and the great responsibility it is to serve in these chambers. So thank you for your service.
Lisa Morris-Hibbler for the record, and here on behalf of Jorge Cervantes, our city manager, who could not join us here today. So the city of Las Vegas, as Randy said, is the most populous city in Nevada. The city is governed by a mayor, Mayor Carolyn Goodman, who will, when she finishes her term, will have served more than 13 years. And then our Mayor Pro Tem, Brian Knutson, Councilwoman Victoria Seaman, who was also a fellow legislator, our very own Councilwoman Diaz, one of our newest council members, Councilwoman Frances Allen Polinsky, who also was a fellow legislator, Councilman Cedric Creer, and then Councilwoman Nancy Bruni, who is also one of our newest elected officials. We have a council manager form of government, which means that the city council is responsible for setting out the policy, and then the city manager is appointed by the council members and runs the day-to-day operations, including the 15 departments within the city of Las Vegas. As I mentioned, Jorge Cervantes is our city manager. We have 3 chief officers, which are equivalent to deputy city managers, Tom Perigo, myself, and Tim Hacker, and then a chief financial officer. Many of us, like myself, have been there for several decades. I've been with the city of Las Vegas for 26 years. A little bit of fast facts about the city of Las Vegas. Our population continues to grow. We have roughly around 659,000 residents. We too have seen demographic shifts. We now have around 33, almost 34% identify as Hispanic. We have 142 square miles, but we are also landlocked, and we'll talk a little bit about what we're doing from that perspective. And we oversee about 160 plus municipal buildings. This is just a map that shows you our boundaries. And in downtown Las Vegas, we believe that downtown Las Vegas is the heartbeat of the city of Las Vegas, and so we've done quite a bit of reinvestment to ensure that we can continue to have success there. One of those things is in the Fremont Street Experience, which is 5 city blocks, but it drives more than 26 million visitors to the area. We have been working with Metro and our own city marshals around enhanced security. That is a huge priority for Councilwoman Diaz and for the city as a whole, because we want tourists to be able to come and enjoy downtown and feel safe and be safe. Symphony Park is another one of our flagships in which we have 61 acres of land that we've redeveloped. It's home to the Smith Center, the Discovery Museum, the Lou Ruvo Brain Clinic. We have 600 residential units already constructed, and upcoming we have a hotel, a grocery store, and additional retail that will be in the area. Like the other cities that you've already heard, our city also has a strategic plan. We go through a comprehensive and exhaustive process every 3 to 5 years. And our city council, this plan was adopted in 2020. The council priorities were public safety, healthcare, and diversifying the economy. Some of the goals included strengthening the relationships with the community and law enforcement to respond to the diverse needs, expanding healthcare access through the community partnerships, and this actually preceded the pandemic, so there was some foresight there, enhancing assistance to connect at-risk and vulnerable populations to mental health services, and expanding broadband connectivity and mobility infrastructure equity across the city, which is hugely important, much like what we see in rural areas where they don't have connectivity. In the urban areas, we have huge neighborhoods that don't have access based on usually cost factors. Our revenue too is highly dependent upon the consolidated tax. About 55.2% of our budget comes from the consolidated tax, so therefore it fluctuates and is vulnerable to economic conditions. And all funding sources combined, we have about a $2 billion budget. Most of our general fund expenditures go towards public safety, and that includes covering 32% of Metro's budget. Also, our own Department of Public Safety, Municipal Court, and the Las Vegas Fire and Rescue Department. We have a number of grant sources. A lot of our dollars come from entitlement grants, which basically means that it's formulaic by the federal government, and so it's non-competitive. We're just awarded a certain amount of dollars, like CDBG, home, emergency solutions grants, and then we get about $11.3 million from those sources. And then our non-entitlement grants, we're constantly looking for other ways that we can bring revenue and resources into the city of Las Vegas. So as I stated, the city is landlocked. We're going to talk in just a moment about some of the infill and redevelopment that we're doing to bring additional housing into the city. We are also an older community, so we are seeing some aging infrastructure and constantly trying to maintain that for our residents. We have an aging downtown, so that becomes important. Again, the infrastructure and then also redeveloping of the area. So both housing, retail development, small business support, all very vital to the downtown area. And as you've already heard, a theme from not only Boulder City, but Clark County, the increase in persons experiencing homelessness. We've seen the shelter population, that means those that are accessing shelters, grow 10%. And the unsheltered population, those that are on the streets, that grew by 20%. So what are we doing? I mean, housing affordability and availability. As most of you know, whether you're here in the Reno area or in Las Vegas, the prices of housing continues to be a challenge. In Las Vegas, the single-family home median sales price was $462,000. And condos now are at $280,000. So our biggest concern is the missing middle, the entry-level housing, the housing that many of us took advantage of when you got your first job and saved up some dollars. Those opportunities seem to be vanishing. The median rental rates are a one-bedroom is $1,065, and a two-bedroom is $1,300, almost $1,400. And remember, for most people, we want them to only spend up to 30% of their income on housing. So you can see where this is becoming a huge issue for our residents. And while rent prices and sales prices are down year over year, we have about less than 4% of available units at $1,000 or less. There are about 20 affordable housing units per 100 renters. And it's estimated that in Southern Nevada, we need about 70,000 affordable housing units to meet the demand. So it is something that we all take seriously. It's something that we're working together regionally and also individually to figure out what we can do to ensure that our residents have affordable housing and that it's available to them. Our goal at the city is to bring on 1,000 new units a year, which kind of seems like a drop in the bucket, but it is, what is feasible in terms of the funding sources available. And so we do have new construction that are coming online. We have C in Jefferson. There's about 84 units that are coming on. We are excited about the Desert Pines redevelopment, which is in Councilwoman Diaz's area, which she'll talk a little bit more about. But honestly, the opportunity to repurpose a golf course and bring on upwards of 1,300+ units of housing, both multifamily, single family, and senior housing, along with retail and a community center, is going to be a gem in that particular part of our community. And then Decatur and Rome with Ovations, we're building 276 units of senior housing with, and you see in your upper, I guess it's in your lower right corner, some cottages, which is, we're always looking at how we can do things differently. And so we're incorporating some cottages into that project. Also, infill development, increasingly important. Every slither of land that we have in Las Vegas, we intend to develop on it. As I said, once you're landlocked, you got to start moving inward. And so we are looking at those areas where there is available land. And so we have a lot of parcels that we've already purchased and that we intend to turn into housing. And then lastly, part of the housing, our approach to preserving housing is also the rehab and preservation, right? We can build housing, but we also have to preserve what we have. So we have a lot of rehab. You'll see in your top left corner a property that was a six-room multiplex that we rehabbed, and then it's fully occupied now. So that also becomes a very important part of the work. Homelessness and mental health services. The demand is unlike anything I've seen. I have talked to Randy and we talked to colleagues, again, being in the city 26 years, there was a time when we thought we had a homeless problem, and I don't think any of us could have foreseen how significantly the homeless problem would become. We have toured across the country, so we've looked at Seattle, LA, Phoenix, Florida, all of the different areas to see what's being done, Austin. And honestly, across the country, this continues to be a daunting issue. For us, we have invested resources in addition to what we do with the continuum of care, which is the regional approach. We also have a parallel track to provide services because, as many of you know, in Las Vegas, we have one of the largest concentrations of people experiencing homelessness that impacts our neighborhoods, it impacts our businesses, and so there is a definite call to act because of what we're seeing. We created a recuperative care center. It's a medical respite, and that is for medically fragile homeless. You might ask yourself, why would we do that as a municipality? Well, we started to see a number of people that were at our Courtyard Homeless Resource Center that were medically fragile, people that had limited mobility, amputees, 80-year-olds, just people that were sick, recently released from the hospital. And so this 38-bed facility allows people to recover And we have a 60% success rate in transitioning those individuals from the recuperative care center into permanent housing. That is a really, really important piece. If you think about anyone, yourself or your family member that's been sick and needed to recover from the hospital, they would send you home, maybe with home health care or maybe with some instructions. But if you don't have a home, where do you recover? We are excited about the $10 million grant that we received from the state through Director Whitley's office for an expansion, and it's actually a rebuild and expansion, so we're hoping to either double, if not double for sure, but maybe even triple the capacity in the area so that we will be able to not only serve the medical fragile, but also serve individuals that have a behavioral health issue. Those are two of the most significant issues that we deal with at our courtyard, and I'll get in that in a moment. And that is where we're also seeing an uptick in the population. So we're seeing some significant population changes in who is accessing our services. The Courtyard Homeless Resource Center, many of you may have heard of that. It is a low barrier shelter. It's a comprehensive full service resource. We have a pharmacist on site. We have a health center on site. We have a brand new health center that's being built adjacent to it, but right now we're doing that. We have a pet kennel. We have a mailbox, and 2,100 people use the courtyard as their address of residence. Why is that important? Because without a mailbox, people cannot receive their checks. So if you're a veteran, if you have disability, without a mailbox, you won't be able to receive those benefits. So 2,100 people are able to receive their benefits because of that. We have, on average, 392 guests that stay there every day. It's been as high as around 430, but on average it's about 392, and we saw 6,081 unduplicated guests. That's 6,081 people experiencing homelessness. We also created an ARROW, which is a fixed route transportation. One of the barriers to getting out of homelessness and becoming self-sufficient is transportation. So this fixed route transit takes people to different resources like social services, the welfare office, DMV. Again, anything that we can do to eliminate barriers, the quicker we do that, the quicker we get somebody back to self-sufficiency. And then we heard a little bit about outreach, but we have a multi-agency outreach resource engagement, which is a long name for our MORE team. Our MORE team is comprised of social workers and nonprofit partners, along with Metro and then our own Marshall teams. They are dispatched over 2,600 times in 2022. So that's over 22,600 times that they went out to encampments or to provide services to somebody that was experiencing homelessness. We also have a street medicine team that goes out to try to make sure and do checks on people that are on the street. That is also becoming increasingly important. And if you haven't done so, I want to be the first to invite you to take a tour of the facility. We'd love to get you scheduled, so please come out. We invite you all to come out to really learn more about the services provided and even talk to some people that are experiencing homelessness and how these resources have helped them. We have people that have been previously homeless that are now working at the courtyard, and they are eager to share their story about what it takes when you actually hit rock bottom to get out. It's more difficult than probably any of us can imagine, but these individuals have done so, and they are now helping other people to do so. So I don't think we can underscore the importance of partnering and collaboration. Obviously, you heard a theme this morning about that. At the end of the day, we're all in this together. So it's really imperative that we leverage our resources. They're finite. Each of us has finite resources, but I think together we can do more and we can do it better to make sure that we're serving our residents. And so we look at first economic diversification. Really, we've been trying to bring in jobs. Livable wage jobs are critically important to the conversation that we're having today around affordability in terms of housing and people being self-sufficient. We have a couple of tech centers that we've started, and so that's been taking off and making us almost one of the newer tech capitals. Workforce retraining and development, working closely with Workforce Connections and some of our other workforce partners around jobs of the future, which we hear about every day, how many jobs are going to be eliminated, current jobs that we have now, and where are the jobs going to be in the future. Regional homeless services. You know, we do work, again, collaboratively with our jurisdictional partners in the county. One of the things that we've been working with the state on is increasing the Medicaid reimbursement rate. Multiple resource centers throughout the region. We'd love to see something like the Courtyard or something similar to that being available in other areas throughout our valley. And then mental health and substance abuse facilities. I know that the state is working on the 988 Crisis Center. We are fully supportive of that process and on board, and know how important it is to get people connected to resources when they're having a mental health or behavioral health crisis. Also, the quality of education. We've talked about the Clark County School District this morning, but you know, we have over 100,000 children in K through 12 that are residents of the city of Las Vegas, and many of our schools are struggling. They're struggling in a lot of different ways, academically, socially, emotionally, and so the city contributes a lot of funding to before and after school program and in-school supports to try to support our children so that they can reach their greatest potential. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Randy.
Thanks, Dr. Hibbler. Again, for the record, Randy Robison, City of Las Vegas. Quickly, Madam Chair and members of the committee, we do have a bill that has been assigned to your committee. What this bill does, we're very excited about it. It takes an existing tool available to local governments, expands its uses, and then allows us to focus on two of our most critical needs, transportation and housing of all income types. This particular method has been used to great success in other states. And so we reached out, consulted with them, borrowed their ideas, modified it to make it more useful here in Nevada, and are excited about talking with this committee about it later on in the session. With that, quickly, introduction of our legislative team. You've met Kelly Crompton and Zach Bucher before, and again this week, as first week of the session getting up and going. We're also grateful to have with us on our behalf this year Pinion Public Affairs and the Ferrado Company. And so that, Madam Chair, concludes our formal presentation. We've saved the best for last. A few remarks from Councilwoman Diaz.
Thank you, and I'm a little rusty for the record. Councilwoman Olivia Diaz, and I just want to say that for a while, when I was recently elected as a council member to the city of Las Vegas, I was drinking from a fire hydrant because there are so many levels that we reach, that we touch, that we're trying to move the needle for our community. And I'm just going to kind of give you a day in the life of a council member. So we have constituent services. So when people are seeing their street lights not coming on, a traffic light out of sync or not working, a four-way stop needed in an intersection, all of those concerns should be channeled to the municipality that can make the difference, and that's usually the city of Las Vegas for my constituents. Then we're constantly working, trying to be forward-thinking as a city. As you have heard, as Dr. Morris Hibbler has articulated, we're very progressive as a city. We really try to move the needle. We really try to be a good partner. We really are trying to keep our people at the center of our work on a daily basis. And we're trying to build community to make life better for all residents, regardless of whether they live on the east side of Las Vegas that I proudly represent. And a side note is, Robeson Middle School is in Ward 3, is Randy's grandfather. So for those of you that know where Robeson Middle School is, there's a lot of history also connected to us there, and that's why we take such pride. I went to Rancho High School, where Assemblyman De Silva proudly teaches, and it's just so imperative that we continue to collaborate, that we continue to partner, that we don't hamstring us, that we create policy that's flexible enough for us to act, but that doesn't also create an unfunded mandate, because we do have a lot of moving parts and pieces that we've already kind of put on our docket of things that we need to accomplish, things that we need to do to make life better for our constituents. One of the priorities that wasn't mentioned by Dr. Morris Hibbler that our constituents resoundingly tell us survey after survey that we try to stay in our lanes, and one of our lanes is not education. But the priorities of our community are top of mind public safety, education is second, healthcare is third. And continually, these are themes that we're hearing back for our community. And what have we done as a city? Well, we said, okay, pre-K, access to pre-K and quality pre-K is an issue. Let's make sure we set up strong start academies, whether they're mobile or they're brick and mortar. And we have, as a city, tried to augment what the districts and charter schools are doing. Another vein that we're trying really hard to do is create safe and walkable communities for all. And so we just adopted Vision Zero, where we're trying to minimize no lives lost on our roadways, whether you're walking, whether you're taking a bus, whether you're in a car, we feel, or whether you're a cyclist, I think everyone should be afforded the right infrastructure to be protected, and we're aggressively pursuing improving in that area. And I just want to say that continually homelessness is an issue that I hear on a daily basis from my constituency. Unfortunately, we need to do better as a state in terms of access to mental health. We cannot continue to use our jail system as a way to treat individuals who need facilities to help treat them with mental health issues, because I hear it from our municipal court judges that basically on a daily basis they're seeing a lot of mental health, a lot of drug addicted folks, and those are a big percentage of the population of our unhoused kind of are coming through those systems. So how can we collaboratively in partnership really assure that we have a solid continuum of care? And you can't take someone in that situation and just house them. There has to be a way to get them to that independence. They're not going to get there from the get-go, but we need to create that. How are we going to get them whole? How are we going to get them well? And that increasingly is a challenge that we don't have the resources as a city to really address that, and that's where we're wanting to be a partner and we're wanting to be a collaborator about how and where we could be placing these services, but we need the financial support and we need the partnership of other entities to make that really happen. And so with that, I just want to invite all of you, again, if you have not toured the courtyard, it's a $25 million investment that we, the city of Las Vegas, have taken because we feel strongly that we need to be connecting people to resources and to services and to give them an option, to give them a hand up to get well and be back where they see themselves and they want to be. And it is a decision. And then I highly encourage you keep the line of communication between your local electeds and yourselves open. We sit on so many different boards, the health district, the housing authorities, the water authorities, workforce boards, and we could be moving the needle if we're talking to each other and really aligning what we're hearing on the ground and then the grassroots. And then you guys, I see you as the quarterbacks. You guys are kind of passing the ball so that then we can hopefully catch that ball and run it across the field. I had to use that because Super Bowl's around the corner. So I know everybody's like, Super Bowl this weekend. So thank you so much again for your time, your attention, your passion, your dedication to our residents, to our state, because we all need to be working together to make life better for everyone.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation. I do want to take just a moment of personal privilege to thank Assemblywoman Diaz, former Assemblywoman Olivia Diaz. She used to walk these halls and was one of the first Latinas to be in this building. So it's great for you to be here and to have the opportunity to have learned so much from you as a personal mentor and somebody I've looked up to for a long time. So welcome back. Members, at this time, I do want to open it up for any questions. So Thomas. Oh, well, we got a lot. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start with Assemblyman Thomas, and then I'll go to Assemblyman Hibbett, and then I'll go to Assemblyman De Silva.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate it. And thank you for the presentation, City of City of Las Vegas. I meant to say our, I guess, sister city on that border. My question actually is when I heard the doctor mentioned that you were repurposing a golf course, and I wanted to know if that's the same city golf course that would be located Cheyenne and North Fifth, that area.
Councilwoman Olivia Diaz, for the record, actually the golf course that we're looking to develop into housing and commercial and hopefully a workforce training center with CSN is the one in my ward in East Las Vegas. It's the Desert Pines Golf Course right now. And we know that water resources are so scarce, not just statewide, but increasingly so in Southern Nevada. And we know that we need to be a little bit more intelligent about how we use those water resources. And we think that housing people takes priority over the golf course existing in perpetuity. And so right now we're going to be flying out to LA to look at different developments and different housing prototypes. And we're really excited to be moving that project along. And we hope to have something come to us by the end of this year so that we can approve it and hopefully get it going.
Thank you, I appreciate that answer. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Assemblyman Hibbets.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for your presentation. I had a question about the development at Decatur and Rome, the senior housing. I believe you said there were 278 units. Did I get that correct?
Lisa Morris, table for the record. Yes, I think it's 274 is what I think I said.
I was close. My question about that is there a traffic plan in place for that area at Decatur and Rome?
Lisa Morris, table for the record. Yes, there is, Assemblyman. We did quite an extensive traffic study. There was a lot of contention around that property. We actually reserved that site about 20 years ago from BLM, and there was nothing out there, and so we couldn't develop on it because we didn't want to put people out there when there was no transportation and knowing that they would be relying on that. And so we have done that. We also did a study on service calls for EMS, fire, and whatnot. And so it was originally proposed as a multifamily project, and then we converted it to seniors. And so, yes, we have done all of those studies.
A quick follow-up, Chair?
Yes, feel free.
Was that traffic study coordinated with the county, the city of North Las Vegas, and NDOT due to the location being within 3 feet of all of those jurisdictions?
Lisa Morris, Sybil, for the record. I am not sure about the coordination. I can get you the traffic study. Our Public Works Department is pretty experienced in working with all of the involved parties, and so, but I have not seen it myself.
I would appreciate it if you could forward that to me. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you could just make sure you get that to the committee staff, and then we'll send it out to all the members as well. And then I have next Assemblyman De Silva.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you all for your great presentation, Mr. Robinson, Dr. Hibbler, and my city councilwoman here, Councilwoman Olivia Diaz. Again, I also want to give a special shout out to Councilwoman Diaz for being just such a great role model to so many of us in North and East Las Vegas, a Rancho High School graduate, a teacher and educator in our community, and such a present force as an elected official in our part of the state, our little nook and corner there in East Las Vegas. And I had one quick question when it came to, this is something I do receive a lot from, especially out in the East, and that's the expansion now of the qualified opportunity zones. I know that when it comes to, and this is something I want to work with the municipal government on in a very intimate way. I know that I think the zone, the qualified zone goes up to about Eastern, so most of it is in my colleague Assemblywoman B. Duran's area. But this is something I do hear a lot from, the expansion now going east of Eastern towards Nellis. There's a lot of opportunity there, I think, for economic growth. And this is something that I wanted to put on your radar. And hopefully this is something that we can work on moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Olivia Diaz, for the record. I proudly want to represent Rancho Rams, Assemblyman De Silva. So I don't take my work lightly. I want to make sure they know that Rams are of a high caliber, but to your point, I think we welcome the opportunity to relook at that. We know it's an entire process, right? So local governments get together with state and federal representatives, and usually it's vetted at a federal level to make sure that we can then revamp those zones and they can be adopted. And I know that, like you stated, Charleston is a corridor, and Eastern is a corridor. The downtown is heavily one, but I couldn't agree with you more. Why not look at some of the areas that could benefit from some very strategic financing structures that sometimes don't make projects pencil, but because this would help with qualifying for certain funding mechanisms, I think you're spot on, and we welcome the continued conversation in the space.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Gonzalez.
A little short there. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Cecilia Gonzalez, Assembly District 16 for the record. And Councilwoman, like my colleagues, thank you so much for paving the way for other young Latinas and for me to be here. My question is, I was curious if the city pays prevailing wages on all of its new buildings, including lease buybacks. Thank you.
Dr. Morris Hibbler, for the record. You said all, so we do pay prevailing wages on most of the projects. I don't know of any that we haven't, but we could get that information for you. But we are very cognizant of that, and so yes, we do pay prevailing wages.
Thank you so much.
Did you have a follow-up?
Yes, I was curious if you know if you paid prevailing wage on the new police stations?
Are you talking about the Lisa Morris Hibbler, for the record, are you talking about the downtown substation or just police stations in general?
Yeah, the newest one built. Oh, whoops, sorry.
The newest one built?
Yeah.
I will check on that. I don't have that information in front of me. It is being put inside of a Fremont Street experience. It's like a building that's already there, so it's more like modifications to an existing building, but I can get that information for you.
Thank you so much, and if you could provide the information for all of them, that would be super helpful for the committee as well, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then I'll share it out to all the members of the committee, because I do believe my understanding of the intent of the prevailing wages for it to apply to all public works projects, regardless of how they're built and regardless of like the construction. So that would definitely be helpful. Assemblyman Carter, I believe you had a question.
Thank you. Yeah, it was just real quick. I will say that I grew up in your district also. My father was in the first graduating class of Rancho. I went to Vegas back when you guys had Sir Herkimer the whole time, but you don't have it now. But the homeless issue, you know, growing up there, it was a huge problem because of the strategic plan of everybody surrounding us in downtown to centralize services in downtown so they didn't have to deal with it. Is there any efforts being and any progress made in trying to decentralizing the dumping ground that was made of us way before you were born, probably before I was born?
Councilwoman Diaz, for the record. Assemblyman Carter, this is something that is always at top of mind for me as a councilwoman who represents an area that has naturally occurring affordable housing. We have a lot of people who are hardworking people, and they deserve a quality of life regardless of where they live, right? And so I totally am getting what you are saying. We were bold enough back in when the shelter space was adopted, we were bold enough as a city to say we do need to set up a shelter space for the unhoused community. And we then now learned that it comes with ripple effects, right? Then that's why our courtyard concept is so important to us as a city, because we can't continue to arrest people, place them in a jail, then they get released, and then it's like the same cycle is repeated over and over. And we want to make sure that we can disrupt that cycle, that we can make people heal and get better. And we're just trying to be very informed of projects that are coming into our areas, because sometimes there are projects that do come and disrupt our community even more. And I just want hopefully to have everyone be very transparent in what they're trying to accomplish. There should be open lines of communication so we're not over concentrating poverty in one side of town. And we're just trying to see, to my point earlier, of how do we collaboratively cobble a plan together that does this, that affords people services, but doesn't place them all in the same space.
Thank you.
All right, I have next in the queue, I have Assemblyman Nguyen. Is there anybody else for questions? Assemblyman MacArthur? Oh, no, I apologize. All right, go ahead, Assemblyman Nguyen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, congratulations on such a diverse city. It's so impressive to see that you put the demographic profile on there, that 57% of the city residents are diverse. And I think that really commends the city leadership to put Dr. Moritz Hibbler in a senior role in the administration in terms of making sure that those communities are served. So congratulations to Dr. Moritz Hibbler on such an amazing role that you have. Along with that question, I just want to make sure that because of that 57% diverse population, there must be a strategic priority for service delivery that will meet this, increased demands in this population. So particularly on language access, and I know, just heads up for the rest of the cities making presentation, that's going to be my question for all the city, is that how does the city determine what information is available in other languages?
Lisa Morris-Silber for the record. Thank you, Assemblyman, for the question. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is a huge priority for the city of Las Vegas. And so much so that the council passed a resolution back in 20. And honestly, the resolution was to reaffirm the work we had already been doing. And so when it comes to language access, one, we have an employee in that works on diversity and equity out in the community. We have information in multiple languages. Because Spanish is the predominant language spoken, followed secondly by Tagalog, we have a lot of our materials are now being produced in those languages. And so we really are trying to make sure that as we move forward, understanding the diversity, that we are being intentional about the work that we do in the community and making sure that all in communities feel like they are included in decision-making, in community forums, that the work is representative of a broader, more diverse community. And so we take that work very, very seriously. And if there's any information that this committee wants, we'll be happy to provide that.
Yeah, just to make sure that was my question, is just if you have a strategy of how you determine that information, which one of it, because there's a lot of information getting out, right? Just whichever strategy that you have in terms of leadership in determining how the languages are being determined in terms of priorities, we would love to know that strategy.
Thank you, and absolutely, we will provide that.
Thank you, Chair.
And if I could, Councilman Diaz, for the record, Assemblyman, when I was newly elected to the city of Las Vegas, I sounded like a broken record time and time again. And they can basically say, yes, she is a broken record in our meetings and our briefings, because I'm constantly, as an educator, English language learner, teacher, a ward who is over, in the east side part of my ward, it's over 60% Latino. I know that we have a lot of first generation immigrants. We need to do better to educate, because we get so many complaints about people not abiding by ordinances and by our law and by our rules. And I'm like, what have we done to educate? A lot of us come from a different country, a different small town, didn't have all of these rules. And all of a sudden, there's parking enforcement, there's trash and refuse that shouldn't be in your house, and there's all these violations that come with code enforcement. But it's not that people are doing it because they want to be bad neighbors. Some of them just are not educated and informed. And so our government has to be thinking about how do we reach people where they are. And after getting in their ear and burning it up so many times, they finally granted me a Spanish PIO, which we lacked at the time that I came on board. So at least we're moving the needle. Karen Castro has so much work because constantly we have to produce as much information as we can in more than one language. And I'm going to continue to advocate and advance that. And any opportunity, whether it's economic and urban development, whether it's community-centered focus, whether it's parks and rec, I am constantly saying we need to do more in this space. And I know it's not just even Spanish anymore. We have other languages we should try to be accessible also, or accessing other communities with this information too.
And thank you for your work on that too. I know throughout the COVID pandemic, we were very late to get information in Spanish at all. And there was a point early on in the pandemic when I think it was basically Councilwoman Diaz and your team, and the Southern Nevada Health District too, with Dr. Lugan, who were able to get out information in Spanish. So thank you so much for your work on that and your commitment to making sure that we're providing language access to all Nevadans. And I know there's still more work to be done, so I appreciate it. And lastly, Assemblywoman Duran.
I want to thank you for your presentation. All of you did such an amazing job. I represent downtown District 11. I have big shoes to fill, not that I will ever get those filled, but working together is something that we have done in the past, and I hope we continue to do that. I just wanted to make a comment that, you know, rolling down East Fremont Street, seeing the new redevelopment that you have in some of those abandoned buildings is amazing. And I had just a question about that. Are you owners of those buildings, or there's people just giving, or is there projects for those people to redevelop those for maybe some housing?
Councilwoman Olivia Diaz, for the record, a lot of the Fremont East properties are land holdings that the Shea family have, because Tony Shea purchased a lot of them in that part of my ward. And so we know that they've kind of been stuck in probate court, and things have had to needed to be addressed before they could move forward and make decisions about what they were going to do with all the land holdings. And so it is my understanding from running into Mr. Richard Shea, Tony's father, they are getting to a point where they are examining what they're wanting to sell, what they're wanting to maybe partner or collaboratively work on with different business entities. So fingers crossed, I'm hoping that we can activate some of those spaces and places that have not had any life come through them in a really long time.
Follow up, please. And I just want to thank you for your efforts. I know it was very concerned on East Fremont Street of all the violence that was down there, noticing that we have, you know, access to the police. We have the lights on the poles and stuff like that. It just makes it a little safer, and you know, just beautifying that whole area, moving north in your efforts to do that. I just want to applaud that. Thank you very much for all you do.
And also, Councilwoman Diaz, for the record, you're doing an amazing job representing Assembly District 11. Couldn't be prouder that you're there.
Wow, this is such a good field committee. What a great day at Government Affairs. I don't believe there's any more questions. So thank you so much for your presentation, allowing us to grow you. We appreciated you coming out to Government Affairs. And just a reminder to committee members, we do have 2 presentations left. I will tell you, we have a very packed Friday, obviously, but I am hopeful that this will allow you to enjoy your Monday mornings after the football game. So we don't have anything scheduled as a reminder for Monday morning, but we just have a full schedule today. So the next presentation we have today is going to be City of Reno with Nick Saccone. I hope I said that right. Yes? Saccone, I apologize. The Legislative Relations Program Manager, as well as Vice Mayor Devin Reese, and it looks like other guests. Just make sure you introduce yourself for the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Torres, Vice Chair Duran, members of the Hardworking Committee on Government Affairs. It's my pleasure to be here and representing the City of Reno today as Nick Saccone, Legislative Relations Program Manager. I have the opportunity to introduce you to our City Manager, Doug Thornley, and our Vice Mayor, Devin Reese. They will be giving you a little bit of an overview of the great things that our city has the opportunity to do. So without further ado, I'll give Vice Mayor Reese the opportunity.
Thank you and good morning. Devin Reese, Vice Mayor of the City of Reno. For the record, First of all, thank you for the opportunity to be in front of all of you today, so many friends. So it is a nice thing to see on a Friday morning, and so thank you for the opportunity. Obviously, we are like many cities in the state of Nevada. We have things that we're incredibly proud of and things that we're trying to work on. And so for my purposes today, and my presentation will be brief, I just want to give a brief overview and introductory background, and then we'll turn our attention to some of the more important and structural things going on in the city of Reno. We are obviously, and many of you probably know this, we are the biggest little city in the world. So if you've been to Reno and spent time there, which all of you I know have, you know that we are working together with our regional partners, some of which are here in the room today, and always a privilege to be among them as well. We believe, of course, fundamentally that we are working towards solving the same types of issues across the state with all of your help. And so this is really the opportunity for us to say thank you. I do want to turn our attention now and just introduce my other colleagues who could not be here today, and we'll start in reverse order. And first, I'll introduce you to Councilmember Kathleen Taylor. Next, Councilmember Megan Ebert, Councilmember Miguel Martinez, Councilmember Naomi Dewar, Councilmember Jenny Breckus, and last but not least is Mayor Hillary Sheevy. And I'll take a moment to pause about Mayor Sheevy because I think it's important for each of you to know that in June, Mayor Sheevy becomes the president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, which is quite an accomplishment for any Nevada city to represent us on that stage. But she will literally be the liaison between all mayors in this country to the White House and to our congressional delegation. So Mayor Sheevy could not be here today, but is certainly thrilled to be a part of the discussion. And so those are my colleagues, and I'm sure you'll see them in the building periodically, and perhaps many of you already know many of them. We are, of course, like a number of other cities in the region, we are a council manager form of government. That means we have the fine gentleman sitting to my left, Doug Thornley, is our city manager. Prior to that, our city manager was Sabra Newby, who is now one of your colleagues, which is certainly an exciting thing for us to see. And she's a dear friend and certainly an expert on many things going on at the city. I'll gush about City Manager Thornley for a moment because he won't do it for himself. Mr. Thornley has been with us now coming up on I think a 3-year anniversary, and he has just been a tremendous force in the city of Reno. And he has brought a lot of I will say renewed energy and enthusiasm to the work that he does. He is professionally, by background, as am I, a lawyer, and so sometimes two lawyers talking about a thing tend to focus on the legal implications of it. But this is a change maker. This is a man who is driving the productive conversations around our city. And of course, he would tell you, and he probably will tell you, that it's all done by a team. He has 3 city managers who assist him in that role, and though they are all not here with us today, they are working and leading the direction and charge of the city. Of course, as an elected body, and as this slide does indicate, we have a mayor, myself, I am the at-large council member and have the privilege to have been chosen by the body to be the vice mayor, and then we have 5 ward-based council members. The city of Reno has been my home for my entire life, and I've certainly seen its changes and its growth. Today, we are proud to be hurtling headlong towards 230,000 people, but I think the last census indicated we were around at 225,000, as this slide shows. Certainly one of the things that's reflected here, and I think will be part of the discussion today, is that we are a diverse and growing community, and that diversity is the strength of our community and really is reflected in the policy choices that we are making. Between 2010 and 2020, and you see the numbers up there, I sort of juxtapose or interpose the two numbers, but we're closer to 265,000 persons, and we have a 17% growth, some of which, of course, is created growing pains for all of us, and so we continue to deal with that at the city. The next slide I want to focus on is really the broad-based way that we go about evaluating the ways in which the city operates. And similar to other cities that you have seen make presentations, we have, of course, a plan for how to get where we're going. It does certainly take an intentional approach, a community-based approach. We are looking for ways to improve at all times and, again, see ourselves as a partner with each of you in that projected growth. The 6 goals of our strategic plan are I highlighted here. They relate to fiscal sustainability, public safety, economic opportunity, homelessness and affordable housing, economic and community development, infrastructure, climate change, and environmental sustainability. And last but not least, and perhaps most important when we do surveys, is arts, parks, and historic resources. We are, of course, focusing on how we accomplish and lead, and to do that, it requires that we turn our attention now to our city manager, who I'll turn the floor over to, again, my friend and colleague, Doug Thornley.
Well, good morning. Doug Thornley, City Manager of Reno, for the record. Like Vice Mayor Reese said, I very much appreciate the opportunity to spend just a little bit of time with the committee this morning and help you know a little bit more about the biggest little city. So as Councilman Reese said, I am going to say I engage in air traffic control basically as a profession. The team does all the hard work. And they are incredible. There are about 1,400 people who work full-time for the city of Reno, and that grows a little north of 1,700 with our seasonal employees who work primarily in Parks and Rec. And all of those folks work to make our community not just livable, but lovable. Our all-in budget, our enterprise funds and our general fund, totals about $915 million. Our general fund is about a third of that, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. Primarily, I do want to highlight across 18 departments sort of 4 areas that we focus on in Reno, and that is, of course, public safety, like every other entity that you're going to hear from in this committee, and that's police and fire and dispatch, and I like to lump our public works folks in with that, the people who maintain our streets and our sewers and keep us safe and sort of keep civilization moving forward. Our neighborhoods, we have a department called HAND, Housing and Neighborhood Development. They focus an awful lot on rental assistance and making sure that we're doing what we can in the housing affordability space. We're collaborating regionally with our partners in Sparks and Washoe County to provide wraparound services for homeless, shelter services for the homeless. And although Washoe County runs point on that in our region, I think everybody has taken a laboring oar and is moving that conversation forward, and we're doing a better job than we ever have in that space. And then as Councilmember Reese, or as Vice Mayor Reese just mentioned, we're supporting businesses through our licensing practices, we're supporting development through our zoning code and our planning department, and we're encouraging economic growth that makes sense for the biggest little city and for our region as we diversify in that space. The slide on the screen behind me is a very basic breakdown of the revenues anticipated in fiscal 23 for the city of Reno in the general fund. You can see C-Tax makes up about 38% of that general fund. It's, of course, the most volatile of the revenues that come into there, and what we are seeing, because it is so quick to react, we are seeing a softening in that space as we move into the budget cycle for the next year. While it is not down, it is not growing quite so acutely as it has in the last few budget cycles. Property taxes, of course, make up 26% of the general fund. They're more stable. That's more of a 2-year lookout. When we coach people up in the city of Reno, we tell them that the C-Tax, we understand the impact of that in about 60 days, and the property tax is about a 2-year lag. And so when we project things as we build a budget, those are the spaces where we really do focus. Smaller areas, of course, business licenses and permits, charges for services, and intergovernmental revenue. Those all remain relatively consistent, but have grown they have grown more rapidly than either property tax or C-Tax in this upcoming cycle and in cycles past. Our expenses are an awful lot like everyone else's. We spend the bulk of our general fund revenue on public safety. It's a service-driven organization, so 72% of the expenses that you see here go to salaries and benefits. So that is not atypical. That's ordinary across government agencies and businesses that deliver services rather than make widgets or doodads or what have you. But when we talk about what the team focuses on and when we look at how we deliver those services,
we turn first to the regional plan. It's a plan that's adopted by Sparks and by Washoe and by Reno. What it does is it makes sure that our ability to deliver services scales as the community grows. And so what we are trying to accomplish in the Truckee Meadows is we're trying to reduce sprawl and focus on infill. We are looking to support intensity and density at the region's core rather than out on the periphery. It avoids environmental degradation, and it accommodates the need for growth in the region so that our property tax can continue to provide for the services that folks rely on. The regional plan in the Truckee Meadows has a tiered system. It's 3 tiers. Tier 1 is, of course, land that is most readily developable. It's either already been developed and it's ripe for redevelopment or sort of more intense development, all and out to a 3rd tier where infrastructure isn't quite in that space yet, but it is more readily buildable. It's more ready to be constructed. It's something that makes fiscal sense in the relatively near future, the geologic future, I suppose. Through the lens of the regional plan, the City of Reno has adopted a master plan, Reimagine Reno, and we are getting ready to update that plan. It runs through 2025, but it guides not only our growth, but it takes the 6 priorities of the city's strategic plan and distills the strategic plan into effectively action items. There are, I believe, 42 pages of implementation strategies included in the master plan. But by and large, what it seeks to accomplish is fiscally responsible growth for the biggest little city. And so one of the primary areas that we're focused on, like so many others, is housing affordability. And so I don't want to necessarily read from the slide to you. You can see that yourselves, but the City Council in Reno has made significant investments and significant strides in helping to provide more affordable housing solutions in the City of Reno and frankly in the Truckee Meadows as a whole. I don't need to tell this committee that housing affordability is a complex problem. It is not simply supply and demand, and so it needs to be addressed from as many angles as we can figure. And so we have an immediate need to keep people in their homes. And we, of course, have longer-term issues of building more supplies. And some of the ways we've gone about it in Reno is we've infused nearly $15 million into rental assistance and housing support programs that are overseen by HAND, as I mentioned before. It's a priority of all of our pandemic relief funds. The City Council has made that sort of a number one, whether through CARES funding or whether through the ARP funding. We've made sure to keep families together, keep them in their homes, and do what we can to support that space. We approved $13.5 million in ARP. One project did not come to fruition, and so as of this moment, $7.5 million are invested in affordable housing units that are new to the community. We're expecting additional projects will be considered in the coming months. But we're thrilled that the state's Home Means Nevada program has injected nearly $170 million in affordable housing or housing affordability programs to the City of Reno. Another thing that we do is through our building permits and our sewer connection fees. City Council has made the policy decision to support the construction of new affordable units by reducing and waiving certain development fees. And of course, the lower the AMI that is appended to the project, the deeper that subsidy goes. And that is allowed because of authority that was expressly granted by the legislature in 2019. So again, thank you for giving us the tools that we need to be more progressive in this space. We're a leader in the region. 87% of the affordable units in the Truckee Meadows are in the City of Reno. And the Home Consortium, which is overseen by the City of Reno, the City of Sparks, and Washoe County, is evaluating its annual applications for, I believe, a $5 million allocation of dollars to support the additional development of affordable units in our community. We've also been given direction by the City Council to take a look at the zoning code and come back with a series of suggestions to improve our policies as it relates to housing affordability. And so we're working with Shane Phillips, who's the author of The Affordable City, which is a compendium of policy suggestions that work hand in hand, the various levers and buttons that can be pulled or pushed to improve whether it's the time to market or the manner in which the zoning code unintentionally makes things more expensive. So we're working to cure that so that we can continue on this path of making the biggest little city more affordable for everyone who chooses to make it home. I touched on the sewer fees. Like other jurisdictions, of course, we are focused on our infrastructure needs. They're critical to growth and affordability and the quality of life for all of our residents. And so no major economic developments, efforts would be possible without making sure that our infrastructure supports those endeavors. One of the things that we're very proud of is an advanced purified water reclamation facility out in the North Valleys. What we're doing out there in a joint effort with Tumwa is we are developing a facility to clean water to an A+ standard and inject it into the ground. It will then be pulled out of the ground and reused in a beneficial way. So whether that's drinking water or water to support industry, sort of yet to be seen who those customers might be, but we're excited about that project. It has received a number of grants, and it is the Truckee Meadows American Society of Civil Engineers Project of the Year for 2021. So we're very proud of that, and we're very proud of our engineers. We are also looking to increase connectivity around the city of Reno. We've tried a number of micromobility pilot projects in the last couple of years. Some of them have worked, some of them haven't quite worked quite the way we hoped. But we are looking to make sure that our community can be healthy and move around without necessarily relying on a car. So whether that's mass transit in the form of buses, whether that's bicycles, whether that's scooters, whether that's just making sure that we have a protected space for people to walk or rollerblade or what have you. We want to make sure that people can get where they need to go in our community without a car. And of course that too, we believe, is an important part of working on the housing affordability issue. I mentioned that we want to continue to encourage a healthy community. One of the ways we do that is by providing access to outdoor spaces that are inviting and safe, whether that's parks, whether that's trails, whether that's open space. In the city of Reno, we're extremely proud of what our Parks and Rec folks just do. The image that you see on the slide behind me is a rendering of the new Moana Springs Aquatic Center that should be opening in 2024 and is on budget. It's sort of a redo of a community center that's important to all number of people, including Vice Mayor Reese, who I believe learned to swim at the original Moana Springs Aquatic Center. It will have multiple pools for competition, leisure, a splash pad for kids, and it will be, I believe, the only 50-meter pool in the Truckee Meadows. And so we're excited to see what that brings to the region from the university and from our swim teams. We, of course, would be remiss if we didn't thank the Pennington Foundation for their support of that project, but we're very excited for some of the generational capital investments that the City Council has made in our community and are now coming to fruition in this next year and the year after. There are challenges, though. We are constantly looking for ways to finance and fund the maintenance of our parks and trail infrastructures. I don't believe we're unique in that space, but like everybody, there are always more dogs and bones when it comes to general fund activities, and parks is one that's near and dear to us and always top of mind as we go through the budget workup tool. not only because they're so important to our residents, but because we do view parks and recreation as an economic development tool. And we view parks and recreation, frankly, as a significant opportunity in education and in sort of growing our youth in the community and keeping them connected to each other and the biggest little city. So Parks and Rec is always top of mind. One of the things, though, that I'm most proud of in terms of what we've accomplished as an organization in the last year is we have redoubled our efforts in the DEI space. And rather than simply making a plan and saying, hey, we have a DEI plan, we have funded a number of positions, and we are using them in a way that goes beyond simply DEI inside the organization. So our Chief Equity and Community Relations Officer oversees a handful of folks whose responsibilities range from developing Spanish language communications outside the ordinary communications of the city to make sure that we are meeting the needs of that quarter of our population, making sure that they have the information they need from us, making sure that we have the information we need from them so that we can design programming and services to meet their needs. Our Facebook engagement in Spanish language is up 77% year over year, which is, I think, indicative of how much better we're doing and frankly, how much further we have to go. We have another person who is dedicated to building relationships in the community and making sure that all of those voices are heard as we do policy workup and make capital investments and work through the process of distributing art money in the community. But really what Mrs. Esparza is best at, and what I'm thrilled with, is before we make any decisions with respect to investments of money or time, we now have someone at the table whose job it is to raise her hand and say, hey, I think we have an issue here with the equitable distribution of this money or the manner in which this policy could impact our community. And so we are being much more thoughtful in that space, and I'm very proud of the work that our team has done in that regard. Our DEI plan for the city is due for an update this year, and so I expect that Cynthia will probably be down here with Nick and gathering ideas, and we'll work those into the plan. But with that, Nick's going to be the legislative contact on a day-to-day basis, and the Vice Mayor and I would be thrilled to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, and thank you for your presentation. I do say, I would like to note that, I've had the opportunity to speak a little bit with the Chief Officer for the Diversity and Inclusion Program. She's actually a sorority sister of mine, Cynthia Esparza, and she does such a phenomenal job. I've known her since she started with that role with the city many years ago now. I think I was just a student at the best university in the state of Nevada. Go Pack. And I know that the program that she's really built is pretty phenomenal, and I think a good idea of what other programs throughout the state need to be copying and replicating in other cities that sometimes actually have larger representation than even the city of Reno. So at this point, I'll go ahead and open it to questions. I know Assemblyman Taylor, is there any, and then Assemblyman DeLong.
Thank you, Chair. And good morning from our hometown. Good morning. It's good to see all of you. And welcome, Nick. Haven't had a chance to meet you in person yet. First of all, a comment. I really just want to commend, and I don't say this because it's my home city. I say this because I've recognized the shift and the change, and I really just want to comment and just commend the council, the manager, really on the, like you said, the thing you're most proud of, really the efforts in DEI. Our community is growing in diversity, in all kinds of diversity, and I know that it's been the leadership of the council that's really directed those efforts for the administration to grow along with it, and that commitment and the changes you've made since you've been there, Manager Thornley, just really, really impressive. So I really just want to, it's important to get that on the record. I've noticed it, I watch it, You know, we live there together, so you know it's something really important to me. And I just really want to commend the effort and the work and just encourage you to continue it as other populations grow, right, in our community. Question for you. You spoke about some of the needs that you have from a city standpoint. What can you give us a little bit more? What if you're in front of the legislature? I guess I'll steal from my colleague, Assemblyman De Silva. What could the state do for you? Because you ask that question sometimes, sir.
Thank you, Doug Thornley, for the record. You know, all the money. No, I think, you know, the state's support in housing affordability, one of the spaces that I think we would appreciate some support is that I spoke about the sewer connection fees. If we don't build that into the rate, that leaves a hole, right? If the needs of those facilities don't go away if we've waived the fee, we just have to find that money somewhere else. And so, of course, we can build it into the fee, but if there is support from the state, whether from the infrastructure funds that are available or some other space, I think filling that hole would be helpful because, you know, nothing is cheap in sewer land, and so we're talking millions and millions of dollars. I think at this moment, the council has waived $4 million worth of connection fees to support housing affordability. So that's one space. I think helping us, you know, try new things in micromobility. I think if there was a prescribed thing that worked for every community, everyone would do it. But we're, you know, trying, and like I said, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And so having capital available to try new things in that space, knowing that, you know, after a year's worth of trying it, it might not stick, that would be helpful to us as well. We have needs that other communities may or may not have. You know, we are always looking for funding for bridges with the RTC and through the federal delegation. And so, you know, the legislature's support in those endeavors, whether through the congressional delegation or our RTC membership, would be appreciated as well.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Dr. Taylor, if I may, Devin Reese for the record, Vice Mayor for the City of Reno, and with the indulgence of the chair, I'll answer a bit about your first comment about diversity, equity, inclusion. I want this committee to understand that our commitment in that area is not just that we have people who work in Spanish language translation, right? I want this committee to understand that the diversity, equity, inclusion piece will be the filter through which we operate the entirety of the city's departments. Moreover, it is, of course, outreach that occurs, and we've had a DEI speaker series for the last year and a half that involved learning about Native American history and cultural contributions, the Black community, the AAPI community. We have technology that is now to be deployed to be able to better communicate with people who are both hearing and sight impaired. All of our business cards have are both in Braille and identify our pronouns. I am proud, of course, to be the first openly gay elected official to the City Council. And when we speak about diversity, equity, inclusion, it is all of the diversity of the city and all of the community and the rich warmth that it provides. And so I hope that we are an example. Mrs. Sparza is leading that charge, and she does so with the full weight and authority both of the council but also the city manager's office. That is a position that did not exist prior to Mr. Thornley's arrival. And the focus on being able to look at all of the ways in which our community is made better by diversity, I think, is the lens through which we now operate, and that was not always the case. We look at our unsheltered population as another group of diverse individuals who have different and compelling needs. So I hope that when we leave here today, you will get the distinct impression that we are looking to service all of the communities that are in front of us, and no particular one. Obviously, our demographic trends tell us where the most communication perhaps lies, but it also informs us that the future will be made better if we reach deeper into that well, and not just that it's a dusty report that sits on the shelf that occupies no space in our mind. It is our front of mind issue. When we build a park, we ask, why are we building there and maybe not somewhere else? When we make sure, I think as one of the prior council members from the city of Las Vegas said, that we are not making it so that neighborhoods are only where poor people are located or only where this type of housing is permitted. All the decisions we will make, and I hope with all of your support, will be made with that lens in mind. So I do thank you for phrasing it in a way that was positive, and I want you to know it is our commitment to this body to continue that work.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice Mayor. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And next I have Assemblyman DeLong.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate the presentation. Question about the advanced water treatment system. Where is that actually located and where are the injections going to occur?
Doug Thornley, for the record. Assemblyman DeLong, we can provide a map of the facility for the committee, and we'd be happy to do that. In general terms, that facility is being constructed out on American Flat.
Are the injection wells right by that, or are they in a different hydrographic basin?
No, they're in the same hydrographic basin.
Okay, thank you.
And then I have Assemblyman De Silva and Assemblyman Nguyen.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you again for your great presentation. Vice Mayor, it's actually great to meet you in person. I've heard so many great things about you. It's an honor to have you here in our committee hearing. The question I have pertains to an issue that I know is very near and dear to my colleague, Assemblywoman Thomas, and her real core of interest there, and that's the walkability nature of Reno. I'm very impressed with what you've been able to do. And I think that the more walkable our cities are, especially our urban areas, the better it is for everybody, for our community, for our society, for our economy. So my question is this: what do you think other cities here in Nevada can learn from your own process there of creating the walkable nature now of the heart of Reno, the downtown area?
Devin Reese, for the record, Vice Mayor for the City of Reno, and I'll take the first crack at it. Two things are true. Number one is that we have people in the city who, and I'll really speak highly of our Director of Public Works and Engineering, Carrie Koski, who are thinking responsibly about the future, not only because walkable cities are better for the environment and our climate sustainability and action plan requires of us to make those thoughtful commitments, but our decision on where we develop means that we have prioritized development in the urban core to go vertical as opposed to out. So when we start dragging folks farther and farther from the city's core where its historical nature has been, it becomes much harder for them to either walk, to work, live, or play, to bike. So those are kind of the things that are top of mind. In the last year, as the slide I think indicated, and Mr. Thornley also stated, we have our micromobility project. We were privileged to bring the Dutch Cycling Embassy to Reno for a 4-day workshop with the Regional Transportation Commission, Washoe County, both of the cities participating. And it is a regional approach, right? It can't be anything that Reno does alone. And so the Dutch Cycling Embassy group was really focused on, when you go to other countries or if you've been to European countries and you see people so happy to be cycling everywhere and there's a culture of it, well, the why is there. Why are we not that way? Well, we have been a very car-centric society, and so we're trying to find a balance between what we know are people's desire and what they see themselves being able to participate in. And the micromobility project that we ran downtown Reno over the course of about 9 months really was informative, I think, for us, because there were elements that didn't work, but there were other elements that did work. And so we're trying to pick and choose those. And so walkability, micromobility, the sort of densification and urbanization of a city that is growing, right? And so all of those things, I think, are part of it. And of course, as Manager Thornley said, our budget is stretched, within its limits. We just try to find a way, right? We try to find those opportunities. And of course, we're interested in new ideas. Manager Thornley and I spent some time this fall in Columbus, Ohio, where we were there to learn about how they had made a priority of their own city to find more walkability, more micro-mobility options. And so we're trying to learn from others. We obviously don't believe that we're inventing some new mode of transportation or livability, but to look to our other cities and counties and say, what are they doing and what can we replicate here within the bounds of our budget? So those, I think, are really the best way to address it. I don't know if Mr. Thornley would have anything to add.
Of course, Doug Thornley for the record. I think I would build on that simply by saying what seems to be important in these projects beyond sort of the physical layout of them is understanding how and why people are moving around the city. So you live in place A and you need to be in place B. Understanding what place B might be and why you need to go there. So whether that's work, whether that's a grocery store, whether that's a restaurant, whether that's a park, and understanding the route people take to those respective spaces, and then the external pressures that cause them to choose that particular route. So do you prioritize how quickly you get there? Do you prioritize taking a route that perhaps has shops that you can stop in along the way? Do you prioritize taking a route, at least in our case, along the river where we have a number of public art installations because you enjoy them or you enjoy the environment? All of those things are possible, whether you're on a bike, whether you're on foot, or even whether you're in a car. And so understanding why people make the choices that they do when we're designing our micromobility projects, I think is the key. And so to answer your question about what could other places take away from that, I think I would tell you that we are still learning ourselves how these things come together and what makes a project successful versus perhaps not. But that seems to be the key, understanding why people choose to go where they do and what the external pressures that cause them to take the route that they do.
And I believe the last question with Assemblyman Nguyen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I'm very encouraged to hear Mr. Vice Mayor talked about his priorities and focus on the DEI space. I think that's amazing to hear from an elected official and a community member who's passionate about the issue. I noticed that you did put the DEI slide last because you knew I was going to ask about that. So thank you for kind of giving me a heads up. In terms of the growth in your population in the last few years. As many of you are aware, the pandemic actually had increased the move for us here in Nevada, right? And lots of folks move here during that time frame. And a large portion of that are the API community. And the API community with the recent census is the fastest growing. In fact, we're the third behind California and Hawaii. And so with that in mind, I know that putting the DEI slide on there on your last slide, and you actually showed the example of your progress in reaching out to the Hispanic community. My question is that, API community is often seen as a monolith, right? We're not just that one box. We have so many different languages and culture, and that population is actually growing right here in Reno, in your city. I just want to ask whether the vice mayor or the city manager has thoughts on where are those priorities in terms of the API communities that is in your city in terms of language access.
Thank you, Devin Reeves, Vice Mayor for the City of Reno. Your question is perhaps the one that resonates most with me. Our AAPI community is growing tremendously in Northern Nevada, and that includes everyone from a large Sikh community, Bangladeshi. There's a growing Vietnamese community. Quite frankly, it's a very exciting thing because as someone who was born and raised here, oftentimes we had to leave to experience the diversity that we sought, and now we don't have to do that. At the local level, at least on a political level, there's also a growing recognition, and there is now a home and a space for an AAPI caucus within the Washoe County Democratic Party. And so through that, we have also had the opportunity to grow both cultural events. I was unfortunately not able to attend the Red Lantern event over the last weekend because I had a prior commitment here in Carson City. But it is part of a small and growing importance. I will say that when I talk to our city management team about how are we reaching out into a community that could be Hmong immigrants, it could be people from the Asian Pacific Island community, we're always looking for ways to do that. And so one of the things that we do is we have to make choices about our communications, and we have the access to both employees who are members of those communities and also to outside contractors who help us to craft messaging that involves those communities. And so as we continue down this road, I think Ms. Esparza will be critically important to developing the kinds of resources, because again, I think as I said earlier, it's not enough that we have, Spanish language Facebook posts, because we know that there are more than just Spanish speaking individuals in our community. And so as we begin to identify them, those will become parts of our diversity, equity, inclusion plan. And also as we welcome them in, I will tell you for sort of anecdotally, during the DEI Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Speaker Series, one of the most well-attended speaking engagements was a university professor who came in to share the Asian American experience in academia and in the city. And we have a very rich tradition. Chinese immigrants built a number of different railroads through our area. There was a Chinese town in Reno that was burned to the ground in the 1800s and then later rebuilt. I mean, and there have been moments where we have had to have a recognition of our past wrongs in order to figure out our path for getting to the future. And so we continue to grow. I think we have, as Manager Thornley said, we're starting down the right path. It's not an ending point. It will be a dynamic and fluid changing program, and I think we intend to make sure that our organization's hiring practices reflect the diversity of the community as well, so that we know that we are really reaching all of the people who live here and call this home. And I think you're also right, Assembly Member, that as people migrate and change living patterns, we're going to continue to confront those issues, and it'll be exciting for this. I'll also say this, Mr. Ciccone is someone who, the DEI slide was not last purposefully, but it was last because we wanted to have the opportunity to think thoughtfully about it. It is something that we lead with, even though it was in the slide deck last. It is perhaps the most important undertaking that we will engage in and embark on over the next 20 years.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I look forward to hearing more success stories from your city, and I look forward to partner with you from the state level. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And any additional questions? I think we're good. All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate you taking the time to come have a presentation. Our committee. We only have 5 more presentations today. No, I do want to thank the City of Sparks for being so patient. We really appreciate you all taking the time and joining us during this very, very busy morning in the hardest working committee of government affairs. So today with the City of Sparks, we have a presentation from Mayor Ed Lawson, as well as Assistant City Manager Allison McCormick.
Okay, for the record, Ed Lawson, Mayor of the City of Sparks, and thank you for having us. What I'm known for in our region is having very brief meetings, so I'm going to keep this as brief as possible. We'll start off with showing you our City Council. There we go. As you can see, you got the mayor. You've got the Mayor Pro Tem Donald Abbott, who is born and raised right across the street from City Hall, which you gotta love. And then of course, we have 2 ladies on our council that represent the other wards, and then Paul Anderson and Christopher Dare. We're a manager form of government. The mayor appoints the city manager. Our mayor in Sparks does not have a vote, so consequently does not have term limits. So I'm in my 13th year on the council, my third year as mayor. And the mayor has a lot of ceremonial stuff to do in the city of Sparks, and that's mostly appointing for planning commissions and the different volunteer commissions. We have roughly 40-something different regional boards we serve on with Reno, Sparks, and Washoe County. So you can tell we're pretty busy. I'm sure we have the same thing in the south. We have a very unique situation with Story County in that we have a county with 4,200 residents and 25,000 jobs today. Supposed to be 50,000 jobs here in the next 5 to 8 years. And 4,200 residents will still be in Story County because of, number one, the new park there that they built came with no housing. It's in the law for them. And number two, there's a water shortage. And I'm sure that some of you from the south have noticed that. But I should mention before I go too much further is I'm a Clark Charger in 1978. So just since everyone was telling their high school, I thought I don't want to be left out. We have regional partnerships with the RTC, Regional Transportation, Regional Planning Governing Board, and then of course all kinds of different boards we share because we are at such close proximity of each other. Sparks is in a unique position at this point, much like Las Vegas. We are landlocked, we're out of land. Our next phase is to move up, and as we know, when you move up, things get more expensive. So the things we talk about with affordable housing kind of go out the window because we're literally becoming San Francisco in the city of Sparks. With no place to grow to, now we grow up, that housing gets more expensive. It is a blessing in some ways, and we're getting a lot more infill in our downtown area. Has really come along here with the advent of apartment complexes down there. We'll have roughly 5,000 people living in a 6 square block area in downtown Sparks. So that's one of our cool things that I think is generating some interest for us. We'll know that we've made it in downtown Sparks when we get a grocery store. That's a big deal. So we're working closely with the federal delegation, Senator Rosen and Senator, I did promoted to Amade, Congressman Amade, to get a land spill. We have a lot of land to the east, and I don't know if we have the map there. It's kind of hard to see, but we have land to the east of Sparks that goes right into Story County, which makes perfect sense for us to grow to where the employment center is. And you know, that will free us up to have some land to develop. But the bigger thing is we want to see our city centers, is what we're calling it. We have a river that runs through Sparks, and it has tilt-up concrete buildings on it. So it's not very user-friendly. You can be down there on the bike path, and you may see 1-2 people an hour go by this beautiful river that we have, that every city in America would love to have a river run through it, and ours has tilt-up concrete. So we're working that idea to move that industrial area out to the east, closer to the employment center, and do that so we can put housing along the river. Dr. Taylor's, that's new for you. Yeah. But, and then we're also looking at Audi Boulevard as another city center. And so what the idea is you'll come to a city center, say downtown Sparks. We have a concert venue down there. You come to the concert, you go to dinner, go to the Nugget, gamble, leave us some money, and then you walk around the entire city. Now, if you want to go to the Generator and where some of the other development is, and we're looking at a Hispanic type area along Audi Boulevard, you'd take public transportation to that. We'll have biking paths and walking paths, so it makes that easier. And then we're looking at how do we make the connection from downtown Sparks to the river, so that we got to get across I-80 to make that happen. So there's some things we got to work on to make that happen for the future. But we're pretty excited about the vision for the future of Sparks. Let's see what else here. It's very hard. I mean, it's kind of the same. When I grew up in Las Vegas, it was pretty easy. Las Vegas was Las Vegas, and Henderson was way over there, and North Las Vegas was way over there. Nowadays, you can't really tell when you move from one to the other. We're the exact same thing in Reno and Sparks. You wouldn't know that you're in Reno or Sparks unless you read a sign. So we're very intertwined with the city of Reno. We have some of the greatest special events. I don't know if you've ever been to the Nugget Rib Cook-Off, but we bring around 500,000 people come to downtown Sparks over a 6-day period. And yeah, it's pretty incredible to just be around that area and just to smell the smells of ribs cooking and all that. It's a lot of fun. We have Hot August Nights, which is probably one of the larger car shows in America. And we register around 5,000 cars every year for that and bring lots of tourism there. I'm going to give you a scoop that may not be the right time to do it, but I'm going to tell you the Reno Air Races will probably be their last year in the Reno area, just because of the constraints of building and us needing to use that land out there. So that is a very positive. They generate about $100 million in economic impact. We have a hometown Christmas parade. We were voted the best Christmas parade, I think, 3 or 4 years ago in America, which was pretty cool. And I'm skipping around. My city manager's going, "What are you talking about?" This is probably one of our biggest, the bigger prides of Sparks. So we had an old mall in where the Legends is now. It's called Legends, and the new casino just went in there. It's a Star Bonds project. We had a softball field there. We got some land out here to the north in North Sparks, and it's called Golden Eagle Recreation Park. This park is all artificial fields. It is it's kids baseball, soccer, football, and then there's 6 softball fields. Those 6 softball fields generate 50,000 room nights a year and over $30 million in regional impact, because people want to come from all over America, as far away as New York State, to come and play on our softball fields. We're one of 2 in the entire nation, so we don't get a lot of credit for that. It's kind of a real secret, but all the residents in our area love playing out there. I'm skipping a lot of this, Allison. Let's go on to fast facts. We have, at our last census, we had 108,000 residents. We're over 110,000 now. We have right at 600 full-time employees, 700 miles of roads, 650 acres of parks. Wastewater is probably the issue that we have the biggest issue with at this point. Sparks' portion of the wastewater is almost at its limit. So part of this lands bill would help us to build another sewer plant to take the relief off of North Sparks and Spanish Springs. And we have, I need to talk about this. I'm very, very proud of our HOPE team, our homeless outreach proactive engagement. It's 3 officers, and their job is to do nothing but contact homeless people. Now, why officers? Because you have to identify yourself to an officer. But we don't arrest our way out of a homeless problem. We offer services. And the services we have are roughly 100, anywhere from, if you need socks, an ID, shots for your dog, a cell phone. I mean, we have a myriad of services that we offer people to help them make that transition from being on the streets to being into housing. And sometimes that's just getting them to the CAC. Sometimes it's taking them to the homeless shelter. But for the most part, we're doing a very good job. It says on here that we've had 108 residents. That's a little behind. My last count with, I get a weekly update, is we're over 300 residents in 2 years that we've helped get off the streets and into some form of transitional housing or help to move down that road. Police and fire, always an issue. We just start entering the fray in ambulances. We're going to see how that works out to do transport. As I know Vegas has a very good model on their ambulance. We haven't had that great of a model up here, so we're going to try something new. We also do before and after school programs for the kids, Leisure Without Limits for handicap and special needs. We're very proud of our two all-ability play parks. We have one was so busy that people couldn't use it, but it's for everything from autism to wheelchair accessible to, you know, everything on the spectrum. So it works out very well. We just opened our new one, and I got a complaint from the apartments across the way, and they said the kids are laughing too loud. They're disturbing me. I said, I'll take those complaints all day long. So with that, that was a very quick presentation on Sparks. I think you're going to ask about demographics. Most identical to Reno, and then I should probably add, in the last 2 years since I've been mayor, we have stood up a diversity and inclusion board from the citizens. We've also stood up a citizens advisory board to the police department. And that's a diverse population also. So we take these things very seriously, things that we haven't had to deal with in the past that we're dealing with today. So with that, I will open it up for questions. Sorry, I'm used to being in charge, Madam Chair.
So is that going to conclude, or do you want to continue on?
Preferably not, Chair Torres.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Allison McCormick, Assistant City Manager for the City of Sparks, for the record. Now that Mayor Lawson has covered the fun and exciting parts of what's going on in Sparks, I'll dive into some of the nitty-gritty. As far as our strategic plan goals, they inform both our budget as well as our legislative platform. Those goals are paraphrased as smart growth, communications and transportation, community character, facilities and services, resiliency and sustainability, and workforce housing. In our budget, our general fund revenues are approximately $94.5 million in fiscal year 2023. Consolidated sales tax is about 45% of that. So we are very constrained when sales tax decreases. About 31% of our general fund comes from property taxes, about 18% from license and permit fees, and 6% from various other sources. In addition to our general fund, we have 28 other funds that are restricted as far as what uses they can go towards, and there's about a combined $150 million in all of those funds. So a budget slightly under $250 million total. As far as general fund expenditures, this graphic does exclude transfers to other funds from the general fund, but with that in mind, we spend about 71% of our general fund on public safety functions. So that is police, fire, emergency medical services, our municipal court, the criminal division of our city attorney's office, and some traffic-related functions. About 18% of our general fund goes towards administrative functions, so your finance department, our HR department, and other internal services. Across all functions, we spend about $72.5 million on salaries and benefits out of the general fund. So a very significant portion of our general fund on salaries and benefits. That means that we have less than 30% of our general fund left to buy other things. So inflationary pressures like we are all seeing at the grocery store now also affect the city in its ability to provide services and supplies. Some challenges that we are facing at the City of Sparks. Staffing shortages. Of those 599 full-time employees that Mayor Lawson mentioned a few minutes ago, we currently have 91 vacancies, so a vacancy rate of over 15%. We are a lean city when we are fully staffed, so that vacancy rate hurts as far as what services we are able to provide. Community-wide, we have a shortage of mental and behavioral health providers and other resources in that regard. Another challenge that the city is facing is workers' compensation costs and increasing liability. There is also only one stop-loss insurer in the workers' compensation space in the state of Nevada that is willing to insure police and fire agencies because the costs of those claims can be so high over the life of a claim. We also have insufficient funds to improve our aging infrastructure, both for city jobs and for other jobs within the city and the community. We need workforce development programs. And last, but certainly not least, a shortage of affordable housing for that missing middle group, for seniors, and for workforce. The city also has one BDR. This year we have used that on what has become Assembly Bill 2. That is in front of the Growth and Infrastructure Committee. That would allow city vehicles to use blue lights on their road maintenance vehicles, just like NDOT vehicles are allowed to under current law. Finally, I will introduce our City of Sparks Government Affairs team. Mayor Lawson, Councilwoman Bybee from Ward 4, City Manager Neil Kreutz, myself, and our contract lobbyists from Kempfer Kroll, Mike Hillerby, and Shelley Capurro. And with that, we are happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation. At this time, I'll go ahead and open it up for questions from the committee. Go ahead, Assemblywoman Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good to see you. Welcome from our sister city, right across the way. Thank you for the presentation, and if you could be any more enthusiastic about the City of Sparks, Mr. Mayor, then I don't know what. You light up. You're a pretty low-key kind of guy, but you light up when you're talking about your city. You really, really do. So thank you for that. Just a question. And I think this is, you list your challenges, thank you, because in the midst of that, there's still some challenges. Do you have a strategic plan, or are there any kinds of things you think that the city itself, as you're looking at, hey, here's some things, we know there's some things that you're putting before us, but also from you have a plan of attack?
Allison McCormick, for the record. Thank you, Assemblywoman Taylor, for that question. The city does have a strategic plan. However, it is in need of an update. We are in the process of updating that plan. It was first adopted in 2018 and runs through fiscal year 2023, which we are going to see the end of very quickly. So we are in the process of updating that plan. As far as work on some of those challenges, the main point of progress that we've seen recently, the city was able to obtain a $1 million grant through the state for affordable housing. The loose plan for that funding is to buy vacant land within the city of Sparks and enter into some sort of public-private partnership in order to develop some affordable housing stock on that land. So that progress is in the very early stages. So I think that's the most exciting thing as far as progress on some of those challenges that I can identify.
Well, I appreciate that. And I also want to commend your work in putting together the diversity committee, something the city of Sparks has never had, very forward thinking. And I certainly can't commend the city of Reno for their efforts in that without commending you. I think that's a really, really big step, really good move. Impressive. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions to the members? I think you just had a very thorough and quick and clear and concise presentation. So thank you so much for your time, Mayor, and Ms. McCormick. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, members, there's only one more item on the agenda. So at this time, I will go ahead and open up the floor for public comment. Each person has 2 minutes to provide testimony. Public comment may be submitted in writing to the committee up to 24 hours after the hearing. Is there anyone in person wishing to give public comment here in Carson City? And if there is anybody in Las Vegas, please just approach your microphones now.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Tanya Brown, spelled TonjaBrown, advocates for the inmates and the innocent. I want to thank the presenters today and their presentation. While listening to their presentation, I realized that there was something that was omitted from the presentation, and that is the housing, dealing with those coming out of the prison institutions. This was a discussion this morning, and I ask that you take a look and view the meeting from Assembly Judiciary in which Director Zaranda with NDOC gave his concerns about those who are coming out of the prison system. No place to live is going to result in a higher rate of recidivism, therefore costing the taxpayers a lot more money to send them back to prison for reoffending. This is a huge concern. Councilwoman Diaz mentions the words collaborate and partner. I think that Vegas, Sparks, Reno, all the presenters should collaborate with the Department of Corrections. And some of the monies should be set aside for the, not the monies, but the areas of housing set aside for those, a certain percentage of those inmates coming out. We are trying to help these individuals. We're trying to help all the homeless people. And the majority of the homeless people probably have not been to prison, and the chances of them committing crimes are probably a little less likely than those who are in prison coming out. They are more likely to reoffend if they do not have a place to live. When they do come out of prison, they're given approximately $25. It's not even a bus ticket. And sometimes they just don't have housing. They can't return to where they lived before. And it's a major issue. And I would ask that even this committee maybe set up something with Director Zaranda and see, because all in all, this is all combined together, whether it's homeless.
Thank you for your public comment. Your time is up. Thank you, Ms. Brown. Do I have anybody else wishing to testify in public comment? BPS, do I have anybody on the phone? Oh, I forgot to read.
Yes, Chair. To participate in public comment, please press *9 on your phone to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Assemblywoman Torres. Nice to hear your voice again, pretty voice. This is Dora Martinez. I represent the Nevada Disability Peer Action Coalition. That's DORA Martinez, MARTINEZ. I just want to commend all the presenters, especially Sparks. I love City of Sparks and Reno. I really want to appreciate City of Reno for having the rental assistant for housing. A lot of people who are can't afford rent and deposit and stuff, they can go in there and they're very accommodating. I also want to commend Mr. Ed Lawson. Great job on accessibility. Please, when you guys talk about diversity, inclusion, equity, and of course, there's the A for not afterthought, but accessibility. And I want to just put that out there in the forefront of people's mind when you talk about housing, affordable housing. Please keep people with disability in mind. Also, the elderly folks and transportation. We cannot get to the bus stop if the sidewalk are not cleared up with snow. There is one here in McCarran, and I hope Dr. Only is there to listen and have NDOT coming clear so people with disability and elderly folks here in this community that I live in, for elderly and disabled community, can go to the Walmart and St. Mart. Thank you for all you guys do. I really appreciate all your work. Thank you, Madam Chair. Have a great, safe weekend.
Thank you. Next caller, BPS.
Anne Marie Grant, for the record. My brother Thomas Purdy was murdered by Reno Police and Washoe County Sheriff. During a mental health crisis, I'd like to give you some data on Reno and Sparks that they aren't going to provide. These are people they shot or wounded since 2020. Abel Lopez Sparks, Jacob Edwards Sparks, killed in being an innocent motorist in a chase. Ronald Zendejas, killed by Sparks Police. Christopher Sheehan, Reno, wounded by Reno. Justice Acebus, Reno, wounded. Joel Edwards, another innocent victim, killed in a crash. Ginger Kravick, wounded by Sparks. Soraya Shepherds, another innocent victim, killed in a crash. Sparks and Reno were involved. Adam Barton, wounded by Sparks. Richard Thomas, killed by Reno and Sparks. Isaiah Herndon, wounded by Reno. An unknown person was wounded by Reno PD. Ja'Cory Shaw, killed by Sparks PD. Brandon Allen, wounded by Reno PD. Francesco Pena, killed by Sparks PD. Jason Thorpe, Sparks PD. Marcus Lee, wounded by Reno PD. Emmanuel Sergio Flores, wounded by Reno PD. Scott Kennedy, killed by Reno PD. And they also wounded another unknown man. None of the officers are randomly drug tested across the state of Nevada, to my understanding. And when I came out to protest this summer, none of them, Sparks, Reno, Washoe County Sheriff's Office, none of them wanted to take a drug test I offered to pay for. I wonder why. Imagine if 50% of the city budget and 71% of the city budget, if just a minimal amount of that was divested to resources that actually would help the community, like mental health resources. Imagine what type of community Sparks and Reno could be in 5 years. They'd probably have a lot less community members being murdered by the police. Thank you.
Thank you, and I think you've mastered public testimony because that was right under 2 minutes. All right, at this time, is there anybody else, BPS?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but there are no additional callers.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So just a couple of reminders for the committee. We will not be meeting on Monday. We will be meeting on Tuesday. The agenda has already been posted, and I believe next Tuesday we actually start with our first bills, correct? So we will have one bill in front of us, so please make sure that you read the bill thoroughly and are ready. It should be probably your first bill hearing for a lot of our members. At this time, are there any comments from members before we adjourn? Assemblyman MacArthur, you want to share who you're rooting on for the Super Bowl? No, he does not want to share. No surprise there. All right, seeing no further business before us, the committee is adjourned.
Okay, one quick question.
Yes, I saw the email. I'm good with that.
Washoe County Sheriff?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.